Boom! Hey, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to the High Noon Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. What is it we do? Hey, what is it that you do? That's probably what you're asking. No, you're not. You're not asking. Here's how I know. Because you people are loyal. Same folks, same group of loyal people. Every day I love you. But for the off chance that somebody knew. Here's what we do. We get together every day at around noon. I know that that's been a bit, fluid these past couple of shows, but that's okay. We do it every day, doing it, saying the quiet part out loud since 2021. Every day, Monday through Friday, I sit here at 12 p.m. and I try to break down for you all the things that are happening in the world. Non-political. I avoid the political bullshit because, you'd be surprised how interesting and how bizarre the world can be when you just forget about, blue versus red and all that nonsense. This is a show for the rest of us. A show for those of us who are just disgusted with the level of rhetoric, discourse, all of that in talk radio. Talk radio for the real people. That's what I call it. Yep. Thank you. I perform this show in what is known as a stream of consciousness. What that means is no breaks, no stops, no, hey, let's take a look at traffic. None of that. We don't do that. I started doing radio in 1992, major market talk show host. Never seen anybody do this before. You people bowed down before me. It's pretty good. More people should be impressed. It's the ravings of a psychotic, a narcissistic psychotic. Every day at noon. Stream of consciousness also means that there's no filter. There's no governor. Whatever is on deck next in my head, I'm just going to say because it's there. I don't have any fear. You know why I don't have fear? Because I'm not an asshole. Anything that I say, I feel I can pretty much defend morally, ethically. All right, you know what? I am an asshole sometimes. Just ask Adam. Adam will tell you. He's an asshole, buddy. As far as assholes go, he's pretty cool. Can also probably ask Byron. Two gentlemen could not be more different. And I'm sure on occasion both think I'm an asshole. Anyway, the show is executed for you in a 4-quarter system, just like a football game. Because Americans understand that 4 quarters. First quarter, I call the first quarter antecedently on this day. It's a bit pretentious. It's a cool word, though. It means this day in history. We go through not all the events, because there's been a lot of events in history, but I cherry pick the ones that I think that I can, rant on, things that'll fuel the stream of consciousness and keep me going. So we do that. That's quarter 1, antecedently on this day. Thank you. Quarter 2 is a thing called birthdays. If you don't know what that is, the door's right there. It's self-explanatory. Tory. Quarter 3 is the deads. The deads, that's where we talk about people who died on this day. And it's a little different than the birthdays. You know what the birthdays is. But the deads, here's what we do. We take a look at people who died on this day. We talk a little bit about what they did while they were here. And then we either damn them to hell or send them off to heaven. We don't know. They died. Where'd they go? That's the question. Quarter 3. Fun. I enjoy it. And then quarter 4, which is the bulk of the show. The first 3 quarters, 30 minutes, 35 minutes. We go through that first half. Fourth quarter is the bulk of the show. This run 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever. The fourth quarter is everything that's happening today. If it's making headlines, if they're screaming about it on the squawk box, if people are, buzzing about it or on the water cooler, we're going to talk about it. Hot topics, trends, headlines, big news events, all of that in quarter 4. Okay, you get it? That's how the show runs. Actually, I should say that's how the show plays out. How the show runs is with you folks. That's right. We are in Pledge Week, folks. So let's get you all caught up on Pledge Week. The show is 100% viewer driven. You are the folks who make the donations, and we do appreciate it. Now, yesterday was an absolutely horrendous start to Pledge Week. It was just not good. No pledges yesterday during the show. So we do not have an executive producer for the show today. We give the title of executive producer to the person who tipped the best on day one or during a show. And yesterday, our executive producers were just no strangers to that position. They are tireless supporters of this kind of talk radio, and we appreciate them. April and Leslie. Thank you, April and Leslie. You are the executive producers again today because, as I said, day one of Pledge Week was not great. Not good. Hi, Joel. Let's check the chat room real quick. Joel's here. Peter's here. Jen's here. Byron's here. There's our producer, Leslie C. Don't see April. April will jump in. April will be like, hi. And then I'll psychically send her a hi. Or I'll just say it. I don't know. All right. So where are we this week in Pledge Week? We're at the same place we were yesterday. The show needs to earn $275 by the end of the week, or, Daddy's got to think of something new to do. This is not an insurmountable number for 5 days' work. But hey, whatever. If you people want to continue supporting this, at some point you're going to stop supporting it. And I'm going to be like, all right, well, they were cool. I'm not unreasonable. At some point, this has to stop. You got people supporting this show at like 10 times the cost of Netflix. Seriously, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's appreciated, don't get me wrong, but it's ridiculous. Okay, enough about that, because we're going to leave that shit up all night. If you do want to help out with the show, I'm going to leave that up because it is Pledge Week. You can support by donating to any of those. Venmo, Cash App, whatever, Let's not talk about the tax situation, but, you want to keep the show going. That's how it works. All right. A couple of things before we get started. So, I just want to mention this because I just love this kid. Is anybody out? Hold on. Let me make sure. I want to see if I got a video here because that would enhance things. Is there an easy video that I can... Hold on. Yeah, goddamn. Nah, there's nothing I can easily pull up. Maybe later we'll celebrate this. But can I just tell you, I mean, we do this show. I like to say I do the show from the Comfort Nest Studios high atop the 1%er compound in beautiful sunny Highland Park, Texas. It's not really sunny today. It's a little overcast as I speak. Oh, that sun's peeking through. So let me just talk about what I've been buzzing about. Can I just, at the start of the show, say that I got a new man crush? It's a crazy man crush. It's, I don't have many man crushes. Of course, there's Steve McQueen. He's like always going to be my man crush. And I feel bad about this one because it's like I'm an old perv. It's like I'm an old queen with a man crush on a young twink. Although he's not a twink, he'd be a stud. Can I just profess my love? I mean, Wyatt Langford. Can we just talk baseball for a minute? Where did he come from? I mean, I guess I wasn't following the farm system or whatever of the Texas Rangers, but my God, is there anybody that brings you more baseball joy currently than this kid? 22-year-old, whatever. He's an outfielder, right? He had a play last night. That I'm watching. Actually, I wasn't watching last night. I should be honest. I was watching this play where he tried to score from first. I wasn't watching the game. All right, you caught me. I just saw this in the highlights, and I'm like, God damn that kid. That kid. He's fun. He's making me very happy. Also, somebody else who's making me very happy. I ran into you. I told you I had a toother thing this last couple of weeks. Oh my God. You want to talk about how expensive dental bullshit is? So I had a tooth thing and they had to pull it because it was all messed up. I got a giant gaping hole and they put stitches and then I had to go back for that. And then there's just incredible pain. And I'm like, you got to do something about this constant pain. And they're like, yeah, we can write you a prescription. I'm like, I don't want a prescription. Here's why I don't want a prescription. I don't like pain pills. Don't like them. Never liked them. Don't like pain. So, the pain pill is always accompanying with pain. So it's got bad mojo. I prefer to just stay away from the pain, but I have the pain and, I don't want any pain pills. I'm like, nah. So I've just been like killing ibuprofen. My water, my blood is like water. It's just, there's no thickness to it. I've just been pounding ibuprofen. But anyway, so yesterday I had to go to this dentist at 7:00. And they were, we'll see you at 7 and we'll see what you can do. I walk into the dentist. I don't know how long this has been going on, but thank God for this one person. The dude behind the desk. Okay. I'm walking up and I'm like, hi, I get my name and my ears. And they're like, yeah. He's going to see you in a minute. And he goes, just sign this here. And he slides over the little clipboard thing. And I go to sign it. And he goes, hey, excuse me, like under his breath. Like, I'm like, what's this about? This is, you're in an official capacity as the guy that's about to stop the pain in my face. And now suddenly you're whispering to me like we're in the back alley of a sex club. What are you doing? And he goes, hey, your fly is down. And I look down and my fly, my zipper's like all the way down. I have no idea how long I've been to the airport. I've done this show. I had done a lot of stuff yesterday afternoon before coming across this guy and this kind, awesome gentleman. And I tell you to do this all the time. Don't see a dude with a fly down and be like, I'm not going to say anything. Say something. Be a mensch, as our Jewish brothers and sisters might say. Be a mensch. Just point it out. Go, hey, dude, you can't possibly. What's the worst that can happen? The dude's going to go, nah, I'm doing it on purpose. I mean, So thank you. Thank you to the dude at my dentist's office who had the courage to point out, and he even whispered. He understood the timber of the situation, that there were other people in the waiting room, and he didn't want to embarrass me. Class dude. Love him. All right. That was my day yesterday. Byron's here. Byron says, hey, Pugs, barn door is open. Yeah, see, that's cool, too. You got to tell people. You got. Oh, Byron says ibuprofen doesn't thin blood. That's aspirin. Oh, it doesn't? Oh, okay. Then I'm good. See, I don't know what I'm doing. All I know is that, I can manage the pain well enough with copious amounts of ibuprofen. Guadalupe. Who's Guadalupe? I don't know. Do I know Guadalupe? Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Guadalupe in the chat room. Would you look at them? Is Guadalupe a masculine or a female name? I don't know. I don't know. It's a beautiful name. I'll give you that. But I don't know. So Guadalupe, welcome. Peter agrees with me. He says, Wyatt is so fun. Man, that's it. There's so much ugliness in baseball, especially among the veterans. They're all dicks. In my pecking order of the worst professional athletes to deal with, I've dealt with professional athletes in all sports. You do know that the absolute worst, the apex, number one, and it surprises people, the number one worst professional American athlete to deal with is a Major League Baseball starting pitcher. They are the biggest dickheads on the planet. They're all jerks. None of them have great, well, some do, but you know what I'm saying? For the most part, they're all jerks. What was I saying? Okay. And then NFL wide receivers are right there. But as far at second, and then cornerbacks and wide receivers, we talked about that yesterday. They're bad too. But Major League Baseball pitchers are like the worst. And honestly, if I have to be, because it's like white American pitchers. That's it. Yeah, I don't have much experience with like the Latino guys because they didn't do radio interviews because they didn't all speak English and all that. But I can tell you, having met a number of ace white American pitchers, they all been dicks. They all been like Roger Clemens. They're like dicks. He's a dick. They all been like who's that guy? Schilling. They all been dicks. NFL wide receivers are bad. But in the pecking order of team sports, like as far as the team sports go, baseball players are the biggest pound for pound jag bags of all of them. All of them. The best ones, told you this, NASCAR drivers. NASCAR drivers are by far the best. They don't even know they're famous. They're like hockey players. Hockey players are right above NASCAR. They don't know they're famous. They don't understand. They're just dumb meatheads who like to do something cool and they're willing to talk about it. NASCAR drivers, hockey players, they're the best. Although hockey players are dangerous. You don't want to go drinking with hockey players. You don't want to think this hockey player is just like a normal guy. And then you go out drinking with him. And then you end up with like a broken wrist because he doesn't know how to drink like a normal person. That's hockey players. My point is this. Wyatt Langford plays baseball with joy. You can see it when you're watching him. So, hey, Wyatt Langford. Welcome to the World Champion Rangers. There she is. There's our girl. There's our executive producer. By the way, is that patronizing? Look at you, middle-aged fat white man calling April, there's our girl. Mean it with love. Mean it with love, with no malice. Yes, but you're saying that no, I'm not. I'm saying she's a girl. If you're projecting upon that statement that I somehow intend to say that she's less than a man, well, that's a you thing. That's not me. A girl is a word, and it's used affectionately. Hi, girl. She don't care. She don't care. She's cool. Boy, oh boy. Okay, I feel like the stream of consciousness is going. I feel like the juices are flowing. So let's get started, huh? Once again, I'll remind you it is Pledge Week. So if you can help out, please do. I think I just heard the thing go, which could indicate a pledge, but I don't do that during the show because it's I can't look at it. But thank you if that was a pledge. All right, let's get started. It's the High Noon Rant. I am Pugs Moran, the second day of April. Not April Fools. This is April Serious Day. I don't know what that is. I try to be funny. I'm not funny. All right, let's see. April 2nd is the 93rd day of the year because of leap year. It's 93 because of leap year. It's the 93rd day of the year. There's 273 more of these remaining until the end of the year. All right, let's get started. Let's do quarter one, right? Quarter one, what did we say that was? We say quarter one is antecedently on this day, ladies and gentlemen. These are all the events that have helped shape our understanding of what this day is. This day in history, if you will. Antecedently on this day in 1513, having spotted land on March the 27th, Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon comes ashore on what is now the U.S. state of Florida, landing somewhere between the modern city of St. Augustine and the mouth of the St. Johns River. St. Augustine, this is why they claim to be the oldest city in America, right? And can we get something straight? So this was in 1513, Ponce de Leon. What about Columbus? Why is Columbus, if it's Ponce de Leon who landed on Florida, which is a part of the continental United States, why isn't he, because Columbus didn't land in America, right? Columbus landed in the Bahamas or something, Puerto Rico, Haiti, something like that. He got close. And then what, did he see land off in the distance and go, it's probably nothing? That was in 1492. Did Columbus come to America? There's no stories of this is where Columbus landed in Charleston, South Carolina. That didn't happen, right? He got close, and then he was lost. And then his entire crew was just riddled with what had to have been called Bahamian AIDS or something. They all got sex diseases. Columbus was a mess. Ponce de Leon, on this day, landed in Florida. On this day, antecedently, in 1902, the Electric Theater, the first full-time movie theater in the United States, opens in Los Angeles. I bet there were a lot of people complaining. I bet there was a lot of shit in that theater because it's just open. It's a new electric theater. It's electric, and electricity's only been around for 2 weeks. So there were problems, right? You never want to be an early adopter. So I bet a lot of people were like, the movie kept stopping. I don't know, problems. People always like to complain. All right, moving on. No, the dog is doing the bullshit. The dog is on your bullshit again. No. Oh, and you know what? Here's the problem. It's I almost have to let her out today because all morning long I've been listening to her belly going. And I'm like, oh, geez, the dog has the shits. Okay. So, normally she doesn't do this during the show. Occasionally, very infrequently is how I would say it. So let me go let the dog out. And I hate letting her out during. Oh my God! Come here. All right, here she comes. Say hello. You want to go outside? You want me to let you down the stairs and outside? Yeah, look at her. She's like okay. Okay, I gotta go do this. I'll be right back. All right, come on, girl. Come on, baby. There you go, buddy. There you go. You'll be good. So now adding to my anxiety, which is probably the most difficult thing to overcome while doing this stream of consciousness rant, is, anxiety getting in my head. That's the only governor I have. Now it's going to be amped up because there's a stupid dog who I love. Call her a stupid dog, but I love her. There's a stupid dog out there in the yard who is an escape artist. So now I have to worry if I don't, how when your 4-year-old is being quiet in the other room and you're like, oh my God, Why is she being quiet? Why is he being quiet? That's what I got to not worry about with the dog. So I got to kind of keep a lookout. Okay, let's go. Antecedently on this day, returning to action. Antecedently on this day in 1970, the American entry into World War I, President Wilson asks the U.S. Congress for a declaration of war against Germany. World War I. I don't know anything about World War I. Here's what I know. I know the Archduke Ferdinand story, right? Serbia. I know about that. That's pretty much it. And then just what I've been able to piece together from movies that I refuse to watch. Like that. What's that movie? Is it 1917 or 1918? That's how little I know about World War I. I won't watch that movie. That movie looks terrible. I know. It's the most amazing war movie ever made. It's a single tracking shot for 2 hours. Yeah, no thanks. That doesn't. I'm going to need another scene. I'm going to need something, can we get a scene back at headquarters? Or I don't know. As to my understanding of that movie is that it's just one continuous scene and it just looks like a guy running through, the Ardennes forest or whatever. All right. It was on this day. We got ourselves involved there in World War I, and public school kids for generations wouldn't be taught a damn thing about it because World War II, that occupied everything. And here's what we learned in school. Revolution. Oh, we spent months on the revolution. Then the Civil War, months. Spent months on the Civil War. And by the time the Civil War was over and we were heading into some Teddy Roosevelt nonsense and then some World War I stuff, it was like April and spring break was on us. And then we'd stop in the middle and we'd come back and the teacher would be like, okay, we left off on World War I. We're just going to skip ahead to World War II. And then we'd spend like the final month. Like if there were 6 weeks left in school, we'd spend 4 of those weeks on World War II. And in the last 2 weeks, it was like, Vietnam happened. It was like they didn't want our generation to really learn anything about Vietnam. So they waited until we're going to hold class outside in the parking lot while they're doing construction on the new field house. But this is where we're going to teach you all the important stuff about Vietnam. They didn't really care. I felt like I didn't learn about certain things. I felt like I learned too much about 3 things: the revolution, the Civil War, and World War II. All right, moving on. Antecedently on this day in 1972, actor Charlie Chaplin returns to the United States for the first time since being labeled a communist during the Red Scare in the early 1950s. This is interesting because here are a couple things that we know about Charlie Chaplin, right? As this generation in 2024, an icon. What probably, there's a Mount Rushmore of film comedy, not American film comedy. And that means we'd have to consider a whole bunch of Japanese guys and Chinese guys and German comedians and, Russian comedians. I don't want to do that. So let's just say that American comedians, you'd have to put, Charlie Chaplin there on Mount Rushmore. He invented the film comedy. He invented, that whole thing. And he was incredibly talented, writer, director, amazingly talented, Charlie Chaplin. And we all know this for a fact. He's lauded as a superhero of Hollywood history. So do you ever wonder why the only Charlie Chaplin stuff that we see is the silent film stuff? There is no dramatic film where Charlie Chaplin plays Betty Davis's father or anything. Why I have wondered this because Charlie Chaplin lived until the 1970s. The dude didn't act at all. We didn't see him anywhere. He vanished in the 30s, 40s. Well, it's because of talkies. No, it's not. That's not the reason. That's a reason for a lot of people's careers that fizzled out after, silent films with the talkies. That's not the reason for Charlie Chaplin. He owned a studio, for crying out loud. Could have done whatever he wanted. It's because he was blacklisted. They blacklisted a goddamn icon. They were like the Red Scare. The guy who made the film The Great Dictator got blacklisted for being anti-American, right? The first great political satire, social satire. Charlie Chaplin, it was 1972 is when he showed back up. And by this point, he was super old. Charlie Chaplin returns to America on this day in 1972. Dude was great. Dude was an incredible. If you just go to YouTube and you just watch his physical comedy, God, man, that guy was he was great. Athletic, his timing. He was great. Anyway, on this day, antecedently in 72, the country is totally cool with Charlie Chaplin coming back. And then he dies. Dead on this, or not dead on this day. On this day, antecedently, in the year 1982, the Falklands War begins. This is Argentina invades the Falkland Islands, which was such a stupid thing. We were so starved for like some kind of combat. We'd had Vietnam and we'd gotten used to Vietnam. Like the people in America had World War II in the 40s, they had Korea in the 50s, they had Vietnam in the 60s and early 70s. And in between like 1974 and 80, there was like 6 years of nothing. And we were like, yeah, it's a pretty peaceful time. And then the Falkland War broke out and we were like, yeah, somebody else, a war we can get behind. It was a stupid war. So nobody even wants the Falklands, but it was like, how dare they take what is British colonial Argentinian land, whatever. It was over quick. Like the British Navy just destroyed them. But now I think the Falklands are back with, I don't even care. Nobody cares. And then America was like, we were like, hey, is that if we can get people's attention and, we can, keep increasing the defense budget if we just, start wars against people whose asses we know we can kick. They looked at England and went, oh, okay. Well, they're doing it. So we don't have to necessarily just go to war against China or Russia or, any of those. We can go to war against Grenada. Let's do this. And then we went and invaded Grenada. And that was like a stupid little war. And of course, Panama, that was a stupid little war. Then after, the 80s ended, then we got what we wanted. We got Desert Storm. Or Desert Shield. Well, it started out as Desert Shield and then became Desert Storm. Moving on. Antecedently on this day in 1992, New York Mafia boss John Gotti got getting on this day. He get gotten on this day. He was sentenced to life in federal prison. Gotti, the Teflon Don. Score one for the good guys, I guess. I don't know. Head of the Gambino family. The Dapper Don. Yeah, we'll move on. Yeah, honestly, if he hadn't been sentenced to life, that dude would probably be president of the United States at some point. Seriously, that's the way we were trending. He was like, everybody liked him. Oh, he's so great. He's a murderous thug. What do you mean he's so great? Could you imagine being in the back seat with John Gotti on a long car ride to Florida? He's a pain in the ass. Everything is me, me, me. Now, I don't know this for a fact. I'm just, assuming. Stream of consciousness takes me to places where I like to imagine car rides with John Gotti and what a prick he'd be. Antecedently on this day, this starts a run of shit. This starts, here's why we do antecedently on this day. I always like to say we look for rhythms, we look for patterns, we look for things that occurred throughout time on this day. Something occurred in the 1500s, and then again in the 1600s, and then something occurred in 1938, and then occurred again in 1954, and then again in 1991, right? We look for these things, patterns on this day. Many times they're easily explainable by weather, right? On this day, 14 tornadoes, it's tornado season. So there's probably going to be, I look for the ones that aren't necessarily so obvious. Like this is a weird one. We're going to go on a run now of mass shootings. This is like mass shooting day, global mass shooting day, which makes it even weirder because we here in America, very provincial, we like to claim, mass shootings as, one of our own, like hot dogs and I don't know, horseshoes, I guess. Horseshoes probably isn't even an American thing, but moving on. Let's see here. So what was it? Yeah, shooting spree on this day in 2012. A mass shooting at Oak Coast University in California leaves 7 people dead and 3 injured. On this day in 2014, a spree shooting occurs at Fort Hood Army Base in Texas. Remember this one? Remember this one around here. 4 dead, including the gunman. On this day in 2015, gunmen attack Garissa University, killing at least 148 people and wounding 79 others. That's in Kenya. On this day in 2021, a Capitol police officer is killed and another injured when an attacker rams his car into a barricade outside the United States Capitol. Guns and ammo and blah, 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 all that stuff found. Look at that. There you go. That's what today is. So stay frosty. Stay frosty. Keep your head on a swivel. Because historically, and look, I don't want to bury the lead here, but we have a story coming up about another global shooting that occurred today. Not a mass shooting. I'm not going to conflate it with these other ones. These other ones have a big death toll. And well, never mind. Look at me. Now I'm already going to talk about the Finland shooting. That's coming up in trending topics. Finland. We're going to get into Finland. Finland still have that super hot chick who likes to dance and probably do party drugs. and then show up for work, and make policy. I don't know. What was her name? The Finnish prime minister. Remember her? She was so hot. All right, moving on. Quarter 2, folks. Let's do some birthdays. Bonum, bonum, bonum. They claim it's their birthday. Bonum, bonum, bonum. And I'm not going to do the legwork to check it out. I'm going to go with what they say. Born on this day in 747. No way of knowing if this is actually true, but what the hell? History has declared it, so be it. Born on this day in 1747, Charlemagne. What's up, Charlemagne? Charlemagne. Okay. Charlemagne's a dude. Charlemagne, one of them historic dudes with like Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar and Charlemagne. First of all, anybody that you know named Charles, that's the origin story of Charles, the name Charles, Charlemagne, began the Carolingian dynasty there in France and all over Europe, which would dominate for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. The Carolingians is one of my favorite words to say. Charlemagne was a king of France and then king of the world. He was a conqueror. He did all kinds of stuff. He's a dude. I'll just say that he's a dude. And you know what he did? One of his most pimp moves. He's the dude that, and by the way, Napoleon stole this bit from him. So if you've recently seen the Napoleon movie and you're like, that's Napoleon. I'm like, no, Napoleon did it intentionally because he was stealing Charlemagne's bit. Charlemagne is the dude who, when the Pope went to put the crown on him to ordain him as the emperor of what would, then be the Holy Roman Emperor or whatever empire, when the Pope went to put the crown upon Charlemagne's head, he snatched it from the Pope's hands and crowned himself. Pimp move! Historically confident pimp move. Charlemagne. Born on this day in 747. Born on this day in 1908. How about Buddy Ebsen? But Buddy Ebsen and Eddie Albert to me are the same thing. They're the same thing. They were two old men that I watched on TV when I was 5. Buddy Ebsen having a birthday today. He is, of course, Uncle Jed. Oh, there's Uncle Jed. No, that's Uncle Joe. He's moving kind of slow. That's Petticoat Junction. Buddy Ebsen was he was Uncle Jed. He's Barnaby Jones. There you go. Eddie Albert was on Green Acres. I get him confused with Buddy Ebsen because at 5, they were just 2 old guys. Dog is barking. Got to handle the dog situation. She's got to come in. This is good. It's going to relieve my anxiety. She went out. She did her business. She didn't tunnel like a POW out of the yard. That's a positive. We can let her in and I can relax. Oh, you're such a good girl. Oh, you're good. You want a cookie? Here, you get a cookie. Yeah, you get the cookie. There you go. Good girl. Thank you for not being an a-hole. Whoa! Kick the camera, why don't you? Okay. I will. Sorry about that, but now we can relax. Now we can get into this the way we're supposed to. I don't have to be all worried about whether or not the dog has escaped the yard. She goes right back to bed. She climbs right back up on the bed. Her job is done. Santa Marin. Thank you, Al. That's her. That's Santa Marin. I was asking who the hot chick person in Finland was. God, that'd be somebody to date. What does your girlfriend do? She's a nurse. What does your girlfriend do? She's Prime Minister of Finland. Oh, and she's so cute. And she likes to dance. I love that about her. I love that I just like to dance. There's going to be videos of me dancing. I'm pretty sure that's the Finnish accent. Don't quote me on it, but born on this day in 1914, Sir Alec Guinness. I call him my Obi-Wan. He's Obi-Wan. Kids, get out of here with your Ewan McGregor or whatever. Sir Alec Guinness, one of the great dramatic actors of all time. Obi-Wan Kenobi. I could never wrap my head around the idea that Obi-Wan Kenobi was young, And I know that was sort of the story of the middle parts of Star Wars, but I don't like it. Sir Alec Guinness, he's my Obi-Wan. Born on this day in 1914. Here's a weird one, especially since we spent so much time on him yesterday, the anniversary of his death. Happy birthday on this day in 1939, Marvin Gaye. When I get that feeling, I won't. His father killed him. I didn't realize this. His father killed him the day before his birthday. Did he have to return the present he'd gotten him? Anyway, Marvin Gaye, born on this day. We talked a lot about him yesterday on the day of his death, so we don't need to talk about him here. Born on this day in 1941. Here's another one of them dudes, but this is dude dork category. You know, I always, whenever we run across these names in history, I go, hey, one of them dudes. You know, and a lot of times they're like just super badass dudes. This is one of them dudes because I've had the opportunity to meet him, and I had one opportunity to actually be social with him. We had lunch together with a group of people, and I was lucky enough to sit right next to him, or actually right across from him. So I was able to talk to him about stuff. Happy birthday, Dr. Demento. Dr. Demento, man. That's a dude who basically started a podcast in 1972 because he wasn't doing radio. That wasn't a radio show. That was like something different. That was like something totally different than what anybody knew. He was outside the box. I loved his radio show. It was like the first radio show that I think was like just nationally syndicated. Like you heard it everywhere, but it came out of a little studio in Southern California. Dr. Demento every Sunday night. At least that's what it was in Chicago. And, you know, the other thing about Dr. Demento that really helped him, that really helped his reputation and helped him take hold, is that he was syndicated not on talk stations or whatever AM things. He was almost exclusively syndicated on rock stations, FM rock stations, which gave him, you know, an audience that was a little bit hipper, a little bit cooler, a little bit more accepting of somebody being extremely avant-garde. Which is what Dr. Demento could be at times. The Funny Five, are you kidding me? Every week, man, 11:30. Well, about like 11, was it like 11:25 or something? I don't know. But I remember, all right, I got to go to my bedroom. I got to lay in bed and listen to the Funny Five. They were the funniest 5 parody songs of the week. I love you, Dr. Demento. You're a cool, and such a nice man. Do you remember when I told you about we were at the Grammys and we got to spend time with Weird Al Yankovic, and I could not believe what an incredibly genuine and kind and cool guy Weird Al Yankovic was. Just totally unaffected, just really friendly, really in the moment, having a conversation with you. A real special entity. That's rare in the celebrity community to have people like that. Dr. Demento's just like that. Like you can see how Dr. Demento was Weird Al's mentor. You can see that Weird Al was like, oh, so that's how you treat fans. He was just really great. Born on this day in 1947, here's somebody else who's really great, who I just don't know that she gets the kind of love and admiration that she deserves. Ladies and gentlemen, born on this day, 1947, Emmylou Harris. Emmylou Harris is a cool-ass chick, man. Emmylou, first of all, you know, I think we most commonly associate her with country music, and she was always... You know, she's always a country, folky girl, but she came up in that very cool canyon culture of Los Angeles, you know, where all the other pop stars were all living, and Emmylou Harris was just one of the chicks there. She was one of the earliest chicks that was doing that Southern California, what they called desert country, you know, Graham Parsons, the Burrito Brothers, the Eagles. The Eagles would certainly solidify the genre. But Emmylou Harris was in that, and then she broke in country, and she ran with it, and whatever. She's an icon. Emmylou Harris, born on this day in 1947. Born on this day in 1965, Rodney King. He died in 2012. I never saw that coming. I mean, look, many things can be true at once. You know what's true? First and foremost, what the police did to him was terrible. And they got caught on camera, and terrible. They should have all gone to jail. That was unbelievable. Terrible. Okay, you know what else is true? Rodney King didn't lead a pious life. Rodney King was not what you'd call a solid citizen. Rodney King did a lot of things. I mean, again, both things can be true. The police should never have done what they did to Rodney King. I mean, we can all agree on that. But also, Rodney King should not have been flying through a residential neighborhood at 80 miles an hour while high on PCP, okay? Both things can be true. How we process this and come to a decision concerning the whole matter is what makes us a human being. So let's all just acknowledge that Rodney King was not a good guy. He was not. Something terrible happened to him that shouldn't have happened to him. but he was not a good guy. Rodney King, born on this day in 1965, born on this day in 1975. Here's a good guy. I don't know him, but I'm just going to project what I think he's like. Pedro Pascal. Oh, I got to tell you, if I were able to like buy stock, like, if there was a Hollywood stock market, and there is, it's the game, hsx.com, Hollywood stock market. I used to play it all the time. I was really good at it. It's a stock market setup, but you buy shares and you buy of celebrities and TV shows and new movies and all that. It's really fun. It's incredibly complicated. I forgot how to do it, but it's still out there. I looked it up. So if I were to buy stock right now on the Hollywood Stock Exchange, I would certainly buy Pedro Pascal. Pedro Pascal, the Mandalorian, The Last of Us, plays Joel. Pedro Pascal, big movies. He's like in every another Pedro Pascal movie. I love that guy, and he's so cool. I just love him. Narcos, right? Narcos, season 1 of Narcos, maybe even season 2. He was the star of that. I keep forgetting. Game of Thrones. Holy shit. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at the TV shows this guy has done. Every single one of them is a banger. I mean, Game of Thrones. Resume. Oh, let me see. What have you done? Game of Thrones. Wow. Narcos. Whoa. Last of Us. Huh? He's good. And Mandalorian? Huh? I mean, seriously, talk about being on a hot streak. Pedro Pascal, born on this day in 1975. Born on this day in 1988. Boy, oh boy, if there was just one guy that I could buy stock in the Hollywood Stock Exchange, if it weren't Pedro Pascal, it would certainly be Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons, Landry from Friday Night Lights. Who saw that coming? Nobody. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw Jesse Plemons. When we were all watching Friday Night Lights, back when it was a TV show, and we're looking at it, and we're seeing Riggins, right? We're like, that guy's gonna be a movie star. We're seeing Minka Kelly. We're like, woo, she is a beauty for the ages. She is going to be a screen icon. We're looking at Tyra, Adrian Palicki, good Polish girl. Man, oh man, is she sexy? She could be the next Pamela Anderson. That's what we saw. That's what we saw. And we were like, they're all going to be stars. Nope, we were totally wrong. You know who was the breakout star? The dude who's going to be winning an Oscar at some point. He's already been nominated, right? I don't know. Probably should be. Jesse freaking Plemons. Landry. Dude is a monster. Got into an argument with a friend of mine. He was like, he plays the same character and everything. I'm like, what? He plays the same character in everything? Are you kidding me? So Landry from Friday Night Lights is the same guy as from Breaking Bad, the crazed, psychotic, murderous hitman drug dealer that's Landry is the same guy. Really? Fargo. So Fargo, season 3 of Fargo that he starred in, he's with his wife. And by the way, I love that they work together. That's cool. I don't know if they love that they work together. Like that very much seems like something that, Kirsten Dunst is all about, and Jesse Plemons is just going with it because, but she's like, yes, like I'm like Kirsten Dunst, like, yes, we just love working together. Isn't that right, hon? And he's like, it's great. It's great. She's always there. I only take roles that have a role for her, and she only takes roles that have a role for her. And it's fucking great, I tell you. I mean, I just imagine that's his inner monologue. Although I'm a bitter man who has lost love on multiple occasions, so I have a distinct view of that whole situation. Hey, they might be happy. They might be happy. Damn kids with all their Hollywood money and their big hit movies. He has kind of been the best thing for her. Like Kirsten Dunst, I don't even know if it's their name. Kirsten Dunst was like this. This is her career. And then she started to go down, and then she meets Jesse Plemons, and they start doing like really good dramatic things together. And all of a sudden, she's going back up. And I think it's him. I think it's him, not her. Oh, there you are again, Pugs, middle-aged fat white man, part of the patriarchy. Oh, well, maybe so, but I think he's better than her. I think she's adorable. But I think she's just one of many of her type in Hollywood. I think he's unique. I think he is a truly unique dude who, if he wants, he can have any manner of great, wonderful career. He he can be a Buscemi. He could do like a Buscemi type career, which would be great. He could be like a Paul Giamatti. He could do like that kind of thing with his career. Basically, what I'm saying, he can have a career as an ugly person in Hollywood. That's kind of what I'm saying. He looks like he looks like, people say he looks like Matt Damon's brother. Maybe like Matt Damon's brother after a car accident, after he's been through the windshield. But he does. I can see it. He looks like. You know what else he looks like? Where's Rob? Where's Rob in the chat room? Rob in the chat room of Witch Kitty, who is one of the most talented people I know. Rob in the chat room of Witch Kitty looks like a handsome Jesse Plemons. Like you can see it. Like if you put Matt Damon, Rob Barr, and then Jesse Plemons, you'd go like, holy shit, look at them. There you go. Happy birthday, Jesse Plemons. That's going to conclude our birthday segment today. Let's move on to the deads. These are people who are, okay, what is it? Okay, do I read Adam? I love Adam. I love Adam because he gets me going. But when he starts a text off with you, like I always think, hey, here we go. So let's see. Should we take a break and see if I can get a little bit of mileage out of Adam purposefully trying to irritate me today? Because that's what he does. He knows his role. We appreciate it. We're going on 20 years now of this bullshit. So let's keep it going. Adam says, formerly Fat Damon, now he's on Ozempic and skinny. You obviously don't know how to love anyone yourself. Oh, see, Adam, that's why Adam's my buddy. See, I expected him to take me one way, and he took me the other way. I love you, kid. I love you, kid. Yeah, Fat Damon. Was he kind of like Fat Damon? Well, was he ever fat? I don't think of Jesse Plemons as, was he fat? He wasn't fat as When was he fat? That's funny though. It is funny though, Fat Damon. Or if you know Rob Barr, you could probably call him Slob Barr. That's a good one too. if he's Fat Damon, then he's got to be Slob Barr, because maybe that works. All right, moving on. Let's do the deads. This is where we open up people's life resume and we decide whether or not they're going to heaven or hell. Dead on this day in 1987, Buddy Rich. Ladies and gentlemen. I don't try and do a drum solo. That's what Buddy Rich was. That's who Buddy Rich is. You'll see, like, Buddy Rich is considered like the greatest drummer of all time. And I'm like, yeah, really? Fucking, I don't care who says Buddy Rich is the greatest drummer of all time. That person has never heard Neil Peart, okay? That person has never heard Bonzo or Mooney. That person has never heard Jimmy Chamberlain. That person has never heard Kenny Arnoff, you know? I mean, there are apex level drummers that, look, was he good at jazz? Probably, but what is jazz? I don't know. Jazz sucks. Buddy Rich, you're going to hell. You overrated son of a bitch. He was also mean as a snake. Buddy Rich was awful to people. He is just as well known for being a Hollywood asshole as he is for being one of the great drummers. Moving on. Screw you, Buddy Rich. You're going to hell. How about somebody else in the music industry who died on this day in 1998? Rob Pilatus, of course, the inventor of the Pilati. He would never see the riches from that windfall. Did he jump out of a window? Oh, my God. Oh, Rob Pilatus. I should probably tell you who he is. He is, of course, Vanilli of Milli Vanilli. I don't know. I just gambled. It's 50-50. He might be Vanilli. He might be Milli. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see who he is. Rob Pilatus. What do you think he is? Well, with the delay, we can't do this, but so Rob Pilatus, I'm going to say, before I look at this, I'm going to say that Rob Pilatus was Vanilli. Okay. Because Fab Moravan, right? He's the other one, and he seemed more famous, and so I think the more famous one would be Millie. I don't know why. Just don't question me. Robert Pilatus was a German singer. Oh, wait a second. What if Milli Vanilli wasn't like their names at all? What if that was just like, you know, people think that like Van Halen is a dude or Pink Floyd is a dude. Like, what if Milli Vanilli didn't really pertain to Rob and Fab? What if it was just, this is the name of the band? Oh, crap. We're going to learn something here, folks. Walk with me. Robert Pilatus was a German singer, dancer, model, and rapper. He was a member of the pop group Milli Vanilli with Fab Moravan. All right, we're not, I don't care. That's not as important. How did he die? Did he jump out a window? On April 3rd, 1998, on the eve of a promotional tour for a new Milli Vanilli album, Back and in Attack, that was the name of the album, featuring Pilatus and Moran on lead vocals, Pilatus was found dead from an alcohol prescription overdose in a hotel room at the Freichendorf Hotel in Frankfurt, Germany. His death was ruled accidental. The album has never been released. Pilatus is buried in Munich. All right, so I thought he jumped out of a window. I don't know. That was terrible. Milli Vanilli. They were like very famous, and then they won a bunch of awards for being really famous and good. And they weren't good. They were famous. They were just, but it turned out that they were lip syncing, and it was a big scandal, and he couldn't handle it. And so then they were like, "We're coming back, yeah," because they had weird German accents, even though they looked Jamaican. It was confusing. We're coming back, yeah. And they und wir sinking, they were like, we und Farben und sinking, so we were all like, yeah, what do they sound like? What do they say? And then he died. So we never got to hear what they sound like. I am going to put Rob Pilatus, who is either Milli or Vanilli, or maybe neither. I'm putting him in heaven. That just seems like a sad way to go. That's just, whatever. He was just a dude. He was just a dude singing and dancing, handsome guy. They're both handsome guys. Let's move on. All right, who else died on this day? Let's look at this. Rob Pilatus. We did that one. Pope John Paul II, JP2. We talked about Alec Guinness being my Obi-Wan. JP2 is my Pope. He was the Pope when I decided to walk away from the Catholic religion. I was raised and abused Catholic. Not sexually, but just mentally, and certainly emotionally and spiritually. When I walked away from the Catholic Church, as I now describe myself as a lapsed Catholic or culturally Catholic. What does that mean? What does culturally Catholic mean? Dig the hats, dig the candles, dig the pomp in the ceremony of Catholic Mass. Love it. Don't want to sit through it. Like, don't want to wake up early to go to it. But if I find myself, like, I love going to weddings. Like, if the people getting married are Catholic and they're having a big Catholic Mass, I'll go to that one. I like that one. Like for instance, I think at midnight mass, the concept of midnight mass is really cool. Like that you go to church at midnight, everybody's drunk. Well, Irish Catholic Mass was everybody was drunk because you're all drinking. The whole family comes over on Christmas Eve and you do your stuff and everybody's drinking and they're eating. And then, around 11:30 or so, grandma's like, we got to go to Mass. Who's going to Mass? And then like half the room is like, yeah, you guys have fun. But then the other half, and almost always the kids are forced. The kids don't get to stay with the dads. That's when the dads start, I don't know, whatever, smoking weed or something. They know they got about a good hour because midnight mass is a good hour. So I'm culturally Catholic. I like it. And Pope John Paul II was Pope when I decided to walk away. He was the Pope was he the Pope when I realized I was Catholic? No, because I guess that was pounded into me from crib time. But he was like the first Pope that I kind of understood. And for that reason, he's going to hell. I mean, seriously, you think the Pope, you think that's like, well, he's the Pope. He's got tickets to heaven. No, he doesn't. That's projecting the idea that what he's got figured out is right. What if he's completely wrong? What if he goes up to heaven? What if there is no heaven? Personally believe that there is something else. And that is the excitement of life. I don't believe in the concept of heaven or hell. I believe in something else. I don't know what it is. I certainly don't believe that there's a bunch of earthbound human cops, making rules that determine whether or not you go to heaven or hell. I don't believe that for a minute. I think if you're a decent person who love people and do the right thing and don't, you're just not an awful piece of shit. I believe you got a shot at whatever. And maybe even if you are a piece of shit, whatever. I don't know. I'm seeking faith. Doesn't stop me from putting Pope John Paul II in hell. Just think he's got to. All right. Dead on this day in the year 2022, Estelle Harris. We lost Estelle Harris. Estelle Harris was Mrs. Costanza, George Costanza's mom. Oh, she was great. She was also a terrific actress all through the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. And she's a big-time Hollywood actress. Parts, not a leading woman, but there were a lot of roles for people. And she was known, Estelle Harris. She also did some TV shows in the 60s and stuff. I don't know. She wasn't Hazel, was she? No. Hazel died young. Anyway, did Hazel die young? I don't know. This is a stream of consciousness. I don't know. I just know that I'm pretty sure Mrs. Costanza was not Hazel. Hazel was a show in the 60s that everybody liked. It was totally realistic. It had a white, well-educated housekeeper, which, just like Alice from the Brady Bunch, we know that there was none of that. Housekeepers back then were always domestics, if you will, were almost always black women. It's just the way it was. But TV decided to make it look like, no, there's maybe Alice was a lesbian, now that I think about it. But she did have that thing with Sam the Butcher, but maybe Sam was gay. Maybe that was a very early situation of bearding one another. People started asking about Alice. She's like, Alice, you're 45 years old. What are you doing? You have no life other than to serve these Brady kids? No, that's not true. I'm doing the butcher. Moving on. I'm out of stuff to talk about there. That's what happens with a stream of consciousness. So let's move on. I will remind you that we are balls deep, as we say around here, in Pledge Week. We need to raise a certain amount of money before the end of Friday's show, or else, we don't even consider what happens next. We don't consider it. So we're going to just put the faith in the listeners, as we always do, and hope that one more time, the Mick can go deep. Let's do the topics, right? Let's now move into all the things that are trending. This is the bulk of the show. These are all the things that are happening in the world today. Headlines, hot topics, without the political nonsense. We're not doing any of that shit. You hear me? No interest in I don't care how you voted. Nobody cares how you voted. Shut up. All right, let's get started. Hey, here we go. How about Iran and Israel? We've got Iran versus Israel, or Israel versus Iran. I don't know, but it's hot times in the desert tonight. So here's what happened. So the Iranian consulate in Damascus, Syria, blowed up real good. That's an Easter egg that I just referenced, blowed up real good, because we'll be talking about that terminology later in the show. And the Iranians, they're like their top general. I'm so tired of this. Every time a general dies, it's their top general. How many top generals do they have? So I guess maybe you could argue, well, he's the one that replaced the last top general. Okay. All right. So it's a transitional job then. So we shouldn't read too much into top general. Like when you say top general, I'm thinking, Patton versus Rommel. I'm not thinking just a guy who's been in the post for 6 months because the last guy got gacked on the streets of Tehran. Anyway, this dude got blowed up real good. He was there at the Iranian embassy in the Iranian consulate, I guess is the technical term for it, in Damascus. And it blew up. It killed 7 Syrian civilians, probably janitors and the like, but also it killed a bunch of top-notch Iranian Quds Force officials. Well, let me tell you, Iran didn't take kindly to this explosion, and they immediately said, it's Israel. Israel did it, which, every time something bad happens to Iran, they go, Israel did it, because Iran's just looking for a reason. Give me a reason. Don't threaten me with a good time. That's their attitude towards Israel. Well, the good time has begun. The bombing is not being denied by Israel. Israel is basically saying, we're not saying we did it, but here's what we know about that building. That building is headquarters of the Iranian terrorist organization, as well as being a front for domestic policy in Syria. It's actually where the top brass of the Quds forces are stationed. That's what Israel says. To which the world is like, well, Israel, you seem to know a whole lot about this. Are you sure you didn't do it? And Israel's like, maybe. So that's where Israel's head is at. Israel's like, and Iran's going, they did it. What do they sound like in Iran? I don't know. Anything I say, any kind of imitation I come up for an Iranian guy is going to just be met with daggers by Adam. Adam, you can't sound like that. I'm like, I don't know what they sound like. It's a cartoon voice. So the Iranians are like, okay, Israel, game on. And that's where we are. And that is not going to be good. Because, who can control Iran? China? So now China's got to get in there and go, you do realize if you retaliate against Israel, this is going to cause a whole thing. There's going to be a whole problem. Oh, my God. So that's what's happening over there in Iran and Israel. ... Developing, as they say. The Dow Jones. Dow Jones is taking one across the chin, which, hey, look, here's what I understand. I understand the importance of having a strong economy, and I understand the importance of the stock market and the role it plays within that strong economy. You know me, though. I do hate the way a lot of these stock market people seem to have gotten, their fifth and sixth yachts on the back of the middle class, who is seeing nothing but gas prices go higher and higher. Nothing but, prices on bullshit at the grocery store going higher and higher. Cheese. The price of shredded cheese has jumped 15 cents. See, these are things I notice. So I don't root for a bad stock market because I understand the complexity of it and how we need to have a thriving stock market. But it looks like the Dow is down 450 points right now as Wall Street starts second quarter on a sour note. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell for a second day, continuing Wall Street's lackluster start to the quarter as bond yields increased and traders lowered expectations that the Federal Reserve would cut interest rates in June. The 30-stock Dow dropped 488 points, or 1.2%, at its session low. The benchmark was down more than 500 points. All right, so there you go. Look, I'm just being fair because you know how I like to go on my rants. Yesterday, my big rant about the FTC, finally deciding to look at what is driving inflation and deciding that, at least as far as we consumers are concerned, the driver of inflation seems to be in the minds of the FTC. And in my minds, for the last 2 years, I've been saying it. It's not about supply costs, not about supply chain disruptions. That's not why inflation seems to be growing and growing for us, the middle class. No, it's driven by profits. It's driven by corporate profits. And again, the little game that's being played here is that because we have turned these issues into political issues, the economy is being, I don't want to go into this. Never mind. You know what? I don't need to explain it. All right, moving on. Dow Jones, taking one on the chin today. I hate you, but you don't want it from me anyway. These are just my stupid thoughts. I'm a broke-ass man who has to rely on gratuities from his audience in order to continue living a life which can be described as meager at best. But happy. I'm happy. Finland is in the news. We talked about this, today. Throughout history, there have been a whole lot of these mass shootings, school shootings, college shootings, mall shootings, Fort Hood shootings, whatever it is. This is the day for it. And there was one that occurred breaking this morning. I saw this when I woke up. A 12-year-old student opened fires at a school in Finland. He killed one, injured 3 others, it says here now. He then ran and was captured alive. He did it with a pistol. He did it with a revolver, which is, cute. It's the way they do it there. A 12-year-old student opened fire at a secondary school in southern Finland on Tuesday morning, killing 1 and seriously wounding 2 others. Heavily armed police cordoned off the Viertola school, a large educational institution, including lower and upper secondary schools with a total of about 800 students. Police said both the suspect and the victims were 12 years old. He's a very American thing, but here in America, we like it when the shooter goes down. We don't need to hear your story, kid. You're 12 years old. It's going to be all bullshit anyway. You have no idea what the world is. Whatever it is that upset you doesn't matter. You're a 12-year-old. Here's what's jacked up about Finland, though. I learned this morning. Nothing's going to happen to this kid. He's 12 years old in Finland. Nothing's going to happen to him. And I don't know, that's a conversation. At least nothing is going to happen to him by the standards of how we hold adults responsible. Finland has a law that anyone under 15 cannot be arrested. Not only can they not be put on trial for crimes, they can't be arrested. If you're under 15 and you do something awful, there is no mechanism in the Finnish judicial system to try a child under 15. They are released to their parents and then put under the care of state welfare resources, that kind of thing. So I don't know if they get to immediately go home like this kid. He shot a bunch of kids at school. He might have to go to a hospital for a while, but eventually this is not going to define his life, which you would think, shooting up a bunch of your fellow students at 12, should probably define your life. I mean, it should at least be on the resume, right? But Finland, they're going to wash it clean. Crazy. All right. What else do we have here? Tesla. Let's talk about Tesla, because you know how that weirdo Elon Musk, he's such a weirdo, man. We do this every time his name comes up. I don't understand. People like think he's cool. Holy shit. You are a bunch of, well, obviously you're not cool. I mean, if you think Elon Musk is cool and you don't see what a weirdo he is, he's weird. He's weird. He's an odd duck. Anyway, Tesla's taking it on the chops too. We talked about the Dow Jones says that Tesla has lost how much of its value. This comes from MSNBC. Tesla shares fall after deliveries drop 8.5% from a year ago. Tesla reported first quarter vehicle deliveries of 386,000. That's a drop of 8.5% from the same quarter last year. According to a mean of 11 estimates compiled by FactSet, analysts were expecting deliveries of around 457,000 for the first 3 months of the year. This was Tesla's first year-over-year decline since 2020, when its operations were disrupted by the global pandemic. Yeah, whatever. I keep seeing that. We got a Tesla dealership here in the neighborhood, because of course we do. And there's a whole bunch of those Tesla trucks. I just started seeing them this week. They're like driving around. They're so ugly. What the fuck, man? Oh my God. What really? Look what I got for $100,000. I go, have you seen the new Corvettes? Have you seen the new Corvettes? And you had $100,000, and you went with that. That looks like a battle tank from a 1985 Commodore video game. That thing does not look good. It looks like they looked at the Pontiac Aztek. Remember the Pontiac Aztek? Looks like they looked at the Pontiac Aztek and went, all right, there's something to build on here. No, there's nothing to build on. The Pontiac Aztek is probably the worst car in the history of cars. Isn't that what Bryan Cranston drove in Breaking Bad? Didn't he drive an Aztek? Whatever, it's funny. It's funny because nobody bought an Aztek because they thought it wasn't their dream car. The Pontiac Aztek was purchased by people who went, I just need a new car and I need to be as cheap as possible. And the Azteks weren't selling. So that's why I think you sometimes still see Pontiac Azteks out there. But that's essentially what this is. It's a $100,000 Pontiac Aztek that, by the way, knowing about first runs and early adoption of new technology, that $100,000 Tesla truck is going to be less reliable, far less reliable than the issue-plagued Pontiac Aztek, which that was another big problem with them. They were pieces of shit that broke down all the time. The Pontiac Aztek will be more dependable than the Tesla truck. And by the way, when you take the Tesla truck in, because it's making that weird dinging noise and the dashboard keeps flashing on and off, when you take that Tesla truck in to get it fixed, it's going to be like another $10,000. It's not going to be. You know what I was about to say? You know what oil changes are going to cost? I guess they don't have oil changes. Do they? They have moving parts? I have no idea. Anyway, Tesla not having a good run this quarter. All right, moving on. What else do we have in today's hot topics that everybody's talking about? Oh, we like this on this show. Forbes put out their wealthiest people in the Wizworld. That's right. We got a new list. And I don't think we got a new guy, because I think at this time last year when they put the list out, the same guy was number one. Let's see here. The wealthiest man in the world. I'll give you the top 5 wealthiest. Okay, you ready? Top 5 wealthiest people in the world. All right, you got number 1, you got Bernard Arnault, right? He's Louis Vuitton, which isn't just Louis Vuitton. Like, I always think about that. I'm like, wait a second, how many of them handbags are there? And aren't they all expensive? Like, that's what you think when you think of Louis Vuitton. But Louis Vuitton is the parent company of a whole like global luxury brand thing. Like, they own everything. They own like, probably not, but things like Lamborghini, or, something cruise line, whatever. It's a luxury brand. And why is he the richest man in the world? Because he only sells shit that super rich people can afford. And let me tell you, 2024, super rich people can afford all kinds of shit. So he ain't selling anything for us. Bernard Arnault. And yet he's the wealthiest man in the world. He's just a parasite on the back of the 1% class. Selling them like, $10,000 handbags that probably cost him, I don't know, less than $6 to make. Margins, baby. Oh, if you can get into selling shit to rich people, because rich people don't really give a fuck. Rich people, I know a lot of rich dudes, and here's what they like to do. If they want something, they're going to pay whatever it takes to get it. But they are going to try and rake you over the coals for a little bit because they like to feel like we know so much about. But if you just call a rich dude that wants something's bluff and go, yeah, okay, we're done here, and walk away, he's going to be like, all right, fine. Because rich dudes just get what they want. They like to put up a front like they're great negotiators, but they're really not, especially if they've got a savvy working class dude on the other side who can recognize that dude really wants this stupid overpriced car. And if he ain't going to pay the price for it, then I'm just going to walk away from the table and he's going to chase me down. All right, so you got Bernard Arnault. He's number one. He's worth like don't quote me on these numbers. He's worth like $2 trillion. There you go. And then number four, actually, is it 222 million or is it 122 million? Look at how fucked up I am with these numbers. Like I could be off 100 million and still be like, well, I got the 22 right. It's something 22. It might be 222. It might be 122. I don't know. Whatever. Bernard Arnault, LV, Louis Vuitton brands. He's number one. He's the richest man in the world. Number two is, of course, for the second year in a row, it's Elon Musk. Elon Musk, but people think Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He's still like, people are like, Elon Musk is the richest man. I'm like, not really. I mean, it's always back and forth with Bernard Arnault. It's not as close as you think. Number three, who's number three? Is it Zuckerberg? I think number three is Zuckerberg. Actually, here, where's the list? No, number three is Bezos. That's right, Bezos. Amazon is number three. And Bezos, who's got Amazon, that's the one I get. Like, I get Bezos. I don't really get Musk. Like, I don't get where that money's coming from. Like Tesla? Really? Not everybody has Tesla. Okay. SpaceX? Isn't SpaceX a money hole? Unless I guess you've got like long-term government contracts that you can count as, I don't know. I don't know how he does it. But like Bezos, I get. Bezos, I get because I live in a neighborhood that is lousy with Amazon trucks. There are Amazon trucks, like 10-1. Amazon versus like regular postal trucks and UPS trucks. 10-1. Easy. FedEx too. We see FedEx around. But it's Amazon. I understand how Bezos could be the wealthiest man in the world because he's selling shit to all of us constantly. Number four is Zuckerberg. Here's another one I don't get. How Facebook? How is Zuckerberg? Okay, I get why he'd be a billionaire and I get why he'd be super rich, but Facebook's get you at number four. And then number five, the fifth wealthiest man in the world this year is Larry. That's it. Larry Ellison. I couldn't think of his last name. I committed these names to my memory. Oracle, right? Internet services. All right. So like that one I kind of get too, because I think that like he's got his thumb on like everyone's computer in the world. So that's kind of a thing. Not really, but that's how I think of it. And that's how I justify Ellison being up there. The ones I have the real problem with are Bernard Arnault, who is only selling shit to super rich people and in return becoming the richest man in the world. I got a problem with Musk because I don't know where that money's coming from. I got a problem with, I don't have a problem with Bezos. I get that. Bezos changed the way we shop, right? Okay. I understand why he's up there. And Ellison, I understand why he's up there. I don't understand why Zuck is up there. We got some new billionaires on the list we can talk about here. How about that? Welcome to the party. Here, drink a goblet of infant blood. And welcome to the Billionaire Club. There are new billionaires. And first and foremost, let's welcome to the club Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is a billionaire, and she's a billionaire just on the tour alone. Like, it's not like she was broke before this Eras tour that she put on. But the Eras tour alone made her like $1.2 billion, which catapulted her into this new thing. New billionaires for 2024, Taylor Swift. How about another one? Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson's a new billionaire to the billionaires list. I mean, thought the dude was supposed to be dead. Like, we were all crying for Magic Johnson back in the 1990s. I know I was emotionally distraught by the revelation that he was HIV positive and wouldn't be. I mean, it was a story, big story. And now he's a billionaire. He's fine. I started to believe that maybe AIDS was on the back burner as far as things we need to be super concerned about. You'd still be concerned about it, I guess, if you're a real promiscuous person who likes to have, all kinds of sex and all that. Or if you're just somebody who likes to get blood transfusions for, kicks and giggles. But after he was diagnosed with HIV, he immediately became one of the first AIDS cocktail people because he's Magic Johnson and could afford to pay, in the early days, it was like $20,000 a day or whatever it was. And he's like, okay, I'll pay it. And then a couple of years later, we'd all kind of just moved on and we were just waiting for Magic Johnson to die because that's how, if you are from the 80s and Gen X like me, that's what happens after somebody says, I have HIV. They go away for 5 years and then there's a thing on the news. Magic Johnson died today at the age of 38 years old. It's like that kind of a thing. But that's not what happened with Magic. A couple of years later, I see him dunking on Kobe in practice. I'm like, that dude has HIV? Okay, we can get through this. Yay, science. We figured out something. Now he's a billionaire. All right, let's see. Who else is on this list? Let's run through some of these new billionaires and see if they're worthy. The world's billionaires are riding high, with the Forbes finding a record 2,781 of them. Oh, that's right. That's the other big headline from the new billionaires. More billionaires now than ever before. Way more. Way more. Which, I guess you could make the argument that, billionaires are kind of a new thing because of inflation. They've only been around about 20 years, 25 years. Who was the first billionaire? Somebody Google that. Let me know in the chat room. I can't Google it and continue this stream. So the world's billionaires are riding high. The Forbes list has found a record-setting 2,781 of them around the globe this year, with a record 14.2 trillion combined worth. 14.2 trillion combined worth. Boy, if we just gathered them all up and took all of their wealth, just this class of people, if we just rose up with our pitchforks and torches and said, let's gather all the billionaires and let's put them in a camp and let's just take all of their money and then let's just end every problem we have in this world. Hunger, lack of education, infant mortality, roads, global connected internet, stuff like that. Let's just do that because that's probably what we could do with $14.2 trillion. These guys are just out buying yachts and banging high-end prostitutes in Dubai penthouses. That's what they're doing. I think there's a better use for the money. I'm just saying. Let's see here. With many markets up, the surge in wealth has made 265 new people billionaires over the past year. These fresh faces include a fashion legend, an NBA Hall of Famer, and one very famous pop star. They collectively commanded about $510 billion in wealth, or $1.9 billion on average, and hail from 32 different companies. Once again, the United States leads the pack with 67 Americans joining the ranks of billionaires. I'm not one of them. Wealthiest among them is Todd Graves, the founder of fast food chain Raising Cane's. Holy what? Oh, this makes me nuts. The guy who came up with Raising Cane's is now a billionaire. I mean, look, I would accept that he's worth about 60 million or something like that. You are telling me a guy who had this idea, 20 years ago? I don't know how long Raising Cane's has been around. I've never been in a Raising Cane's. I am never going to a Raising Cane's. And you want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because this son of a bitch, he walked into an angel investor meeting, the kind of meeting that I have been in many times, only to be shot down and have people go, well, we don't see that as big. This son of a bitch. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of one of my things that got shot down. I used to talk all the time about my cereal bar. Yeah. Yes. I want to open. You just get cereal. You just go in, you just get cereal. You go in, you get a big bowl. You make it yourself. It's like frozen yogurt. They got the giant, containers, and you can choose bowls. Some of the bowls are going to be like pots and pans, giant deep ones, like when we were kids. The whole place, when you walk in, it's going to look like a nursery school. There's going to be TVs everywhere showing nothing but retro cartoons. All of the waitresses and all of the staff are going to be wearing onesie, like footy pajamas. It's going to be like, and here's where I'm putting them, college campuses. That's right, son of a bitch. Every college campus is going to have a cereal bar. It's going to be where the kids... Coffee? I'm done with coffee, okay? Oh, that's interesting. You're opening a new coffee bar? Well, kids, where would you rather hang out? At the place that's showing old Huckleberry Hound cartoons and, allowing you to eat all the cereal you want out of a giant pasta boiler? I don't know. Come on. So that was my idea. And by the way, there were a couple of these things that sprouted up around the country. After I started, there was one like up in the Colony. They didn't do it right. I went in there and I'm like, this is really stupid. This is just a storefront where they sell cereal, man. Where is the sizzle? Where is the fun? Where is the targeted demographic? College campuses. Every college campus should have had one of my cereal bars. I don't know. I just imagine you can walk in, you get any cereal you want. You can mix and match the cereals, different kinds of milk. That's it. That's all we do. You buy it by the bowl. You weigh it like in the high school in like a frozen yogurt. And there we go. We're off to the races. So I've pitched that and they said, no deal. So this son of a bitch from Raising Cane's, Todd Graves, he walks in and he goes, I got an idea. And they're like, what's the idea? And he goes, kids menu. That's it. Just chicken fingers. That's it. Nothing else. Can they get a sandwich? Nope. Chicken fingers. So this is basically, and mac and cheese, maybe. Maybe we'll have a little mac and cheese. He pitched an idea for a fast food restaurant that was exclusively based on a child's menu item. And now he's a billionaire. Fuck. Hate that guy. Didn't even know him until about 10 minutes ago. And now look at me. Now I have a new enemy. Let's move on. Let's see here. Also, here's another story that pertains to all of us. The agreed upon number. I mean, I guess it really depends on how you want to live your life. I need a drink. The agreed upon number by which an American in 2024 can retire comfortably. What's the number? What's your bag? What do you need in your bag? They've calculated. They've asked a couple of people. No, actually, they asked thousands of people. It says here, all right, so I'm going to read this to you. The stock market has given 401ks a 19% boost last year. Inflation cooled. Still, lots of people feel no closer to hitting their magic number for retirement. So here's the current magic number. Okay. Now this is based on a poll of 4,588 adults, and it was released on Tuesday by financial services company Northwestern Mutual. The bag number that people need to retire comfortably. And by the way, doesn't this depend on when you retire? Like if you retire at 85, wouldn't the number be less than it would if you retired at 65? So I don't know what that means, but this certainly isn't based on people retiring at 65. Because if you retire at 65, I believe that by today's health standards, you are possibly without some, terrible thing that befalls all us humans from time to time. You got 25 years. So can you live 25 years on, here's the number, $1.46 million. That's what they say. That's the new bag number. You want to retire comfortably, you got to have a bag with at least $1.46 million. Yeah, I ain't getting there. Well, actually, I could get there. I could get there and I could surpass that. But things have to break my way. I think we can all agree. Things need to break my way in the next 15 years. I got like 15 years left of being like really productive. So in the next 15, maybe I'll sit down and pitch to a bunch of angel investors a child menu. It's just Jell-O. That's it. Come on. We just served Jell-O and mashed sweet potatoes. It'll be crazy successful. No, that ain't gonna happen. Not giving up on my cereal bar concept, though. especially now that I live on a college campus like SMU. Do you know how big? Do you know where? Do you know where? Anybody know? Okay, so on the SMU campus at 75 and Mockingbird, there's a CVS right there at the corner of 75 and Mockingbird, and it anchors like a strip mall. It anchors a strip mall. It's an older strip mall. It's like probably been around on the SMU campus since like the 1960s, and it's got the SMU bookstore right there. There's like a CVS, and then there's the big SMU bookstore where you can buy all your SMU gear and all that stuff. And then there's like there's one of them stupid French places. It's not like a fancy French place. It's like fast food French. It's not an au bon pain, but maybe it's like a le pipetou. I don't know, whatever it is. It's stupid. Nobody goes there. Who wants to go there? But it's there. Right in that strip mall is where I put my cereal bar. That's it. Those SMU kids, all they got is money. All they got is money to spend. They got daddy's credit card. I'm not giving up on it. 1.46 million, folks. Okay, that's the target, I guess. This according to Northwestern Mutual. It's up, by the way. It's up from 1.27 just a year ago. So a year ago, if you had your 1.27 and you're like, well, they said I can retire comfortably now. And then you get in 1 year and they're like, yep, scratch that. No, it's 1.46 now. You don't have enough. You're going to die penniless and sad. I should be so lucky. Die penniless and sad, because that means I at least kept trying. Oregon is doing something crazy. Actually, I don't know if it's crazy. I don't know. I don't know if it's crazy or not. So remember when Oregon, they were like the first states ever to like go, all small amounts of drugs are now misdemeanors. So if you're walking down the street and you got a pocket full of heroin, and a cop stops you and he goes, what's in your pocket? You could go heroin, and the cop would go, well, here's a ticket. Wouldn't even take your heroin. It was the new Oregon law. Which, look, man, I can have a conversation about this. My friend James Parker, WBAP 93.3, he's on from 3 to 5. James Parker is a libertarian, and he believes that all drugs should all be legal at every level. Everything, you should do whatever you want, but he's not really a thoughtful individual, and he just kind of looks at things in a very binary way. And if I want to do heroin in a park, I should be able to, like that. He's like that, which, I admire on some level. I also chuckle quietly, not to his face, but I'm like, oh, my friend. So I'm a bit conflicted about the idea that Oregon just legalized all drugs. I think that sounds like a stupid far left kind of thing, bordering on, weird ass libertarian values, which I do not cotton to. I think that those people, what libertarians are to me? Libertarians are like right-wing people who play bass, and they want to be able to jam with friends on weekends. So they can't say that they're, right-wing guys, because, the other dudes in the band, they'll be like, no, man, we're liberal musicians. So they go, yeah, no, I'm a libertarian. That's it. By the way, check it out. Every libertarian I know plays an instrument and plays in bands. And that's how I came with that. Every self-proclaimed libertarian is a dude who spends copious amounts of times with non-libertarian liberals. Let's just call them liberals. Spends a lot of time with liberal musicians. So that's why they call themselves libertarians. It's a rouge of a political ideology. It's not real. It just allows you to hang out with hippies and them not hate you. I don't know why you want to hang out with hippies anyway. I used to manage bands, and I can tell you the people in bands are some of the most difficult individuals. Not as difficult as a white starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, or a wide receiver or cornerback in the National Football League. By the way, I said, because I felt I should say that white starting pitchers in Major League Baseball are the absolute worst guys. Now, why do I say white there? I'm not trying to make it racial. I'm just drawing a distinction between American-born starting pitcher baseball players and those from like the Dominican and stuff, who I don't have that much experience with. So I can only tell you about the Roger Clemens types. They're all assholes. I say that about baseball players. Where was I? I completely forgot what I was talking about. Receivers. And then I'm like, and then receivers and quarterbacks. Goes without saying, all cornerbacks are black. So black cornerbacks suck. And also, if I'm being honest, most of the terrible receivers that I thought were just like awful, conceited, narcissistic, thoughtless people, they are also black receivers. So if I'm going to call out the white starting pitchers, I think I also have to call out the color of the wide receivers and the cornerbacks, who are 2 and 3 on my list of the worst professional athletes. And, I don't know, another guy looking at the same data points, they might come with a different order, but whatever. It's kind of like, what's the best album of all time? Exile on Main Street, Sgt. Pepper, or Nirvana Nevermind, right? Any order works. I don't know what my point was there. Okay, so anyway, Oregon is doing a thing with their, how did we get into that conversation? It's a stream of consciousness. The car got backed into a corner, and I had to work my way out. Okay, back to it. The Oregon law. Oregon made all drugs legal. Misdemeanors. No felony. You're not going to go to jail. You're not getting put in jail because you got caught with, pills that weren't yours. Well, that's not a thing anymore. Yep, I'll read it to you. But they're moving away from that. They're like, this was a bad idea, James Parker. This did not work out well. Oregon's Democratic governor, Tina Kotek, on Monday signed into law a bill that recriminalizes the possession of small amounts of drugs, ending a first-in-the-nation experiment with decriminalization that was hobbled by implementation issues. The new law rolls back a 2020 voter-approved measure by making so-called personal use possession of a misdemeanor, punishable by a maximum of up to 6 months in jail, but it's a misdemeanor. It also establishes ways for treatment to be offered as an alternative to criminal penalties by encouraging law enforcement agencies to create deflection programs that would divert people to addiction and mental health services instead of the criminal justice system. In a letter, Kotek said the law's success will depend on a deeper coordination between the courts, police, and prosecutors. All right, so basically they're like, yeah, we did this law. It sounded great. We had no way to really deal with it. Now everything's jacked up. So we're going to make it illegal again. We're going to go back to the drawing board, try to figure out a way to implement this in a way that doesn't disrupt the entire legal system, which is what happened there. So if you're planning on going to Oregon and walking through Portland with a pocket full of heroin, just know that it's now illegal again. Powerball. Oh my God, you guys, Powerball. Yeah, you know what? I felt really bad. I realized last night at like 10 o'clock that I didn't get a Powerball ticket. I can't afford a Powerball ticket, honestly. It's like $3. I'm like, I can't justify $3 during pledge week. I have to get to a number and we have to surpass that number. Can't even get a goddamn Powerball. I can't. I'm kidding. I'm being dramatic. It's like $3 and I forgot. And I felt really bad last night. I was like, damn it. This would have been the winning ticket. I forgot to buy the winning ticket. That's how I felt because I'm weird. That's how my head works in my quiet moments when I'm laying in bed. Because that'd be just like God or whoever you are to just screw me like that. He'd also probably make me lose my winning ticket. If I had a winning ticket, I would lose it because that's how God thinks shit is funny. Anyway, Powerball, nobody won. So look at me dodging a bullet there, huh? Powerball is up over $1 billion. The next drawing is on Wednesday, so let's go. Powerball grows to the 4th largest prize in game history. Let's see here. The Powerball jackpot grew to $1.09 billion ahead of Wednesday's drawing. The prize is the 4th largest in game history with an estimated cash value of about $527 million. That's fucker. I hate that. Half. They just take half. Half because we don't trust them. That's the deal. First of all, we're all taking the one-time payment, right? Take a look around at the state of this country right now, and you ask yourself, are you willing to go like 30 years deep with this promise? I don't believe that, well, you can get the full 1.9 billion if you let us keep it all and just pay you yearly stipends. That's how you get the full. But I can't be guaranteed that 5 years from now there's still going to be a lottery and that, stormtroopers haven't overtaken the nation. No. So we all take the upfront money because this country is a garbage pail recently. And we're like, we don't trust any of this being stable. I'll take the money up front. I'll build my bunker and we'll go from there. But because of that, because we don't trust them, they take half. That's it. Like, I can understand if the prize is $1.9 billion or $1.9 billion. But if you want it up front, we're going to have to take some off of that. And it's going to be about 800 million. Then I'd be like, okay, I get it. That's fine. That's fine. Half? They're taking half. That's 1.9. Unless you don't fucking trust us, then we're only giving you half, asshole. I'm like, oh, geez. Then the government's going to get involved. Then the government's going to be like, we want half. It'll be half. It shouldn't be, but it'll end up being half. Because whenever a poor person suddenly comes into a lot of money, for some reason they try and take as much of it. Because, hey, he's a poor person. He's dumb. He doesn't know how this works. We'll just take it all. So, you win the 1.9, you end up walking around with 250 million. You end up walking around with Seinfeld money, which isn't bad. He seems to be enjoying it, but look at me shitting on my own fantasy. Like, I can't even have a fantasy where I win without me like somehow finding a way. That's depression, folks. That's what depression is. It's kind of shit. It's kind of juices that are flowing in my stupid head. Anyway, everybody get your Powerball tickets. Wednesday's drawing $1.9 billion. What else do we have? Oh, okay, Texas. All right, my fellow Texans, who's fucking the birds? That's what I want to know. Somebody's fucking birds here in Texas because we've only got the second case of human or bird-to-human avian flu. And where is it? It's right here in Texas. Yeehaw! Stop fucking birds, Texans. Texas avian flu. A Texas dairy worker has tested positive for the avian flu, marking the first identified human case of an illness in the United States. It's only the second in the world. Congratulations, dairy farmer in Texas. You're in league with some dude in Thailand, who probably somebody in Central Africa, who was the only other person to figure out a way to get this. Texas dairy worker has tested positive for the avian flu, marking the first identifiable human case of the illness in the United States. Texas, we're number one. First in everything. First in Ebola. Yeah, that was us. I ain't never going to forget that. Remember when Texas had Ebola? That's like nobody, like Ebola's like not even real. It's like something from the Dune movies. Ebola. I've only heard about it. Not in Texas. Texas had Ebola. And now we got avian flu. And by the way, every time I drive by, that apartment complex where the people had Ebola, where I'm talking about? Where's that? Is that by like kind of Lake Highlands or something? I don't know. I don't know what that neighborhood's called. Whatever it is, it's kind of over in that direction. And I know where the place is, the apartment complex. And I drive by it and I'm always like, place had Ebola. Like, do the people who live there know? Like, that would be off my list. Although if I'm looking that apartment complex, doesn't look like the people who live there have much choice. So maybe they're like, yeah, it had Ebola 10 years ago, but well, now we got avian flu. Some dude had sex with a bird, a Texan, and now we got it here in America. Let's see. It's the first identified case of bird-to-human transmission of an illness in the United States that has sickened cattle across several states over the past few weeks. The infection, only the second human case ever recorded in history, is worrying public health experts who for decades have cautioned that avian flu could pose a serious risk to humans. Did I read that wrong? I think I read that wrong. The infection, only the second human case of H5N1 ever recorded in the history of the country. Country, what does that mean? Does that mean there's other people? I don't know. Moving on. Doesn't matter. Look, if you know this guy who's having sex with birds, or if you know anyone who likes to romance birds, let him know. Just be like, hey, look, just so you know, wear a condom. At the very least, encourage him to wear a condom when he goes having sex. And by the way, what kind of birds is he having sex with? If you've got a friend or a dude who like manages like an emu farm, you see these things, an ostrich farm, those are the ones doing it. Those are the ones. They gotta be. Because it's just impractical to try and have sex with a regular bird. Maybe a goose, maybe a duck. Not that I've given it thought. Moving on. J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling is trending. Jokes rolling, as I like to call her. She's a billionaire, right? I think. I don't know. They say she is. Harry Potter. She should be. She will be. It's not like kids are all of a sudden going to not read Harry Potter. I mean, that's stuck. It's up there with I was going to say she's up there with like Frank Baum, who wrote The Wizard of Oz, but that's all he wrote. And that was only one story, right? She's got like 1 billion stories. So J.K. Rowling, she's a billionaire. She's controversial. She's how crazy is it in 2024? Imagine you asked to say this in like 1994. You say, you know what'll make you controversial in the future? Is if you like stay steadfast to your belief that there are 2 genders, male and female. If you in 2024 believe that, they're coming for you. And that's what she believes. She doesn't believe that there's not such a thing as trans. That's not what she's saying. But she's saying that the trans is like an offshoot of the 2 agreed upon genders, which I also believe. And it doesn't make me anti-trans. I get it. I'm not going to ask too many questions. But, if there was a test for $1 million, it was like on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It's like, for $1 million, how many genders are there? I'm sorry, I'm answering 2. That's what I know men and I know women, and then I know trans people. But the trans people always started out in one of the camps. And then that's why they're called trans, because they transitioned out of that camp. But then change. I don't know if that suddenly creates a third gender. I mean, biologically speaking, there's male and there's female. I don't know enough about this. I don't. I know what I think. And no hate, no malice. Rishi Sunak. Okay, you know who this guy is? We haven't talked about this guy. Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister of England. Yeah, they got another one. They go through prime ministers like boom, boom, boom. You blink and it's like, hey, what happened to Theresa May? She had a cup of coffee. What happened to John Major? They go through them like crazy. Rishi Sunak has backed and is backing J.K. Rowling's right to free speech as Scotland's hate crime laws come into force. Now, here's what's going on with this. Scotland has a new law that wouldn't float here in America, but over there they don't have our, Constitution with its amendments. So there is no real right to free speech. The Scottish people, they've been conquered by just about all of their neighbors, and they've been told to shut up more times than they know. So free speech, I guess, isn't super important to the people who still bend the knee to the Queen. You feckless cunts. See, I can say that because I did it in a British accent. And in England, that's not as bad a word as it is here. Rishi Sunak backs J.K. Rowling's right to free speech as Scotland's hate crime law comes into force. The Prime Minister says people should not be criminalized for stating simple facts on biology. This after the author dared police to arrest her for misgendering. Now let's keep it 100, as the kids say. Okay, J.K. Rowling's a rabble-rousing asshole. I mean, she's a troublemaker. She knows what she's doing. She's causing trouble just for sport because she's a billionaire and she writes books about wizards and she's bored. So Scotland's got the new rule. Well, let me read you the story before I extemporaneously give my thoughts. Okay, so Sunak, the Prime Minister, backed J.K. Rowling after she dared police to arrest her under a controversial new hate crime law. As the legislation came into force in Scotland, the Harry Potter author issued a flurry of social media posts declaring that a string of trans women were in fact men. Okay. All right. So get that. Just put that in your head. She unleashed a flurry of social media posts declaring that a number of trans women, okay, a string of trans women were in fact men. She's like, these are all men. I know they're trans. I know they're going as trans women. They're all men. Did she have to do it? No. She's a troublemaker. Whatever. Kind of a bitch probably. But hey, you're allowed to do it. You're allowed, especially something like this. It's not, you're not just lying. It's not fake news if you wholeheartedly believe that there are two genders because that is what you've been taught since. I mean, I can't believe I'm defending that lie. She doesn't need to be getting involved is my point. She's a troublemaker. As this new legislation came into force in Scotland, the Harry Potter author issued a flurry of social media posts declaring the trans women were men. The SNP, the Scottish National Party's Hate Crime Act, has been widely condemned amid fears that it could be used for political purposes. It introduces offenses for threatening or abusive behavior intended to stir up hatred, which in Scotland previously applied only to race and includes a possible 7-year jail sentence. So here's what's going on. So for her to make under this law in Scotland, for her to make a statement on social media that says these trans women are in fact men is illegal and actionable, and she could be arrested because that's deemed, according to this new hate crime law by the SNP in Scotland, that is, what do they call it? Not offensive, doesn't matter, but that's illegal. She can't do that. You can't say that. Oh, if you say that trans women are actually men, you could go to jail for up to 7 years. And she's pushing back on that, as any reasonable person should push back on this. This is stupid. God, this is just one group of people who had a little bit of power, and now they are enacting laws that really only bolster their point of view, which is nice. And that's how dictators roll, but that is not how you have an open and free society. You've got to be able to put up with assholes like J.K. Rowling who are just simply never going to believe what you want them to believe. You may see yourself as indemnified in all of this to criticism because you are on the side of the angels, because you are defending people who can't be defended, but you're wrong. You're wrong. No matter how you feel about this, no matter what your intentions are and how good they are, you cannot take another person's right to think differently than you. Let's see. She ended. Hold on. Let me see this. So anyways, her writing that, she did it on purpose. It was a stunt. She's an asshole, and she's out there doing an asshole stunt. Mrs. Rowling is a prominent gender identity critic, including trans campaigners and other individuals in her tweets, referring to them as women. But she ended the thread by saying, April Fools, only kidding. Obviously, the people mentioned in the above tweets aren't women at all, but men, every last one of them. Okay, so again, she's being an asshole. She's being unnecessarily confrontational and trying to stir it up. But look, man, it's your right to be an asshole. It really is. And then she tagged it with come and get me. Hashtag come and get me. So she's threatening. She's challenging the people to enforce the new law, which she is now breaking openly in her little tweet there. Hashtag come and get me. Arrest me. Let's go. Charge me with this. Don't do it, Scotland. Don't do it. She's a high-profile individual, and this will turn into a big, ugly thing. The author, J.K. Rowling, who lives in Edinburgh, added, freedom of speech and belief are at an end in Scotland if the accurate description of biological sex is deemed criminal. I'm currently out of the country, but if what I've written here qualifies as an offense under the terms of this new act, I look forward to being arrested when I return to the birthplace of the Scottish Enlightenment. She signed it off with the hashtag arrest me. All right, there you have it. J.K. Rowling. She's a bitch. She's a troublemaking bitch who doesn't need to be doing this, but she is right. She is right. You gotta allow people to be dicks. You gotta allow people to say, if someone has a terrible take, you can't tell them that they can't share that terrible take. The way we should utilize this kind of give and take in a free society is we should just take notes of the people with terrible takes and go, yeah, don't pay them any mind. But unfortunately, there's a whole lot of people with terrible takes. And again, now we get into the whole thing of, well, you can't have terrible takes anymore. If you have terrible takes, you go to jail. Well, now you're a dictator. You can't punish people for believing things that you don't believe or for not thinking the way you think. And honestly, I keep telling you, man, I'm a middle-aged man and I'm living in a world that I don't understand anymore, but I'm trying to get along to go along. I'm trying to be as accepting. I'm trying to learn. I look forward to the evolution of whatever my headspace is in this moment and what it will be in 10 years. I know what I was 30 years ago. I know what I was 20 years ago. I am constantly in a state of evolution, and that's a good thing. And most of us should embrace that as the best part of getting older. But right now, at this stage in my life, I believe that there are men and there are women. From my understanding of this, that's how the chromosome thing works. Now, once you're born, there is a whole other thing that, you live a life and things go on, and maybe you are of a different mindset. Maybe you don't like I'm not saying that there's no such thing as trans people. What I'm saying is it's not a third gender. It's not. You can evolve as a human over the course of your life into maybe being something in the middle, that gender fluid thing, and that's fine. And that's the state of which you choose to exist. But that does not create a third gender. It doesn't. Show me a baby that was ever born with, something other than a penis or a vagina. That's really, it makes no sense to, I think, reasonable thinking people. And you can be someone who goes, yeah, there's not three genders, there's two. You can be that person and not be a hateful monster. Because I don't care if somebody disagrees with me on that and they're like, no, there's a third gender. I'm like, okay. Nah, but okay. I mean, you cannot force me to agree with you. Now, what you should expect of me, somebody holding this thought, what you should expect of me is to be exactly the same as I am or try to be with everything else. You should expect me to be respectful. You should expect me to try and be thoughtful and considerate of a situation that I don't understand. And you should expect me to just not try and win a war all by myself. This is not a thing. This is not anything that I'm going to do battle about. Penis or vagina. I saw a video the other day, and it was actually, these videos make you think the worst about young people, and they do that on purpose. They go to, we're on a college campus talking to college kids about what they think about gender, and then it's like 50 snippets in a row of weird blue-haired college kids going, the question was, how many genders are there? And like they just show like 50 kids in a row going, well, there's no number to the genders. Oh, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's at least 6 genders. And they show that. You know what they didn't show? They didn't show all the other kids who are like, there's 2. There's 2 genders. There's boys and girls. And then there's the trans community. And they're a new thing, but they're not a biological gender. They're a new thing, deserving of our respect and all of, the things that come with being an American. They're not different. They're not marginalized. We have to look out for them, but they're not another gender. They started out being born a certain gender, and then they have chosen, as is their right as people, to live the life that they have created. That's what life is. Doesn't make another third gender. So anyway, they show you these clips, and I'm watching this clip, and I'm like, look at these fucking kids. And then I'm like, oh, wait a second. I know how they do these things. There's a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of kids who said really normal things that they just didn't use because their narrative, their agenda is to make us all hate on kids. And I will tell you that there are probably way more kids today walking the high schools of America who have extremely different views on that subject than maybe any of us did just 10, 15 years ago. But it's not all of them, man. It's not all of them. I can tell you them. My kid who sits next. I don't know how much I can say about this. There is a student who is a trans student who goes to school with my son, and he was telling me about how he made a joke. He's like, I'm cool with trans. I let him cheat off me. And he lets this, I don't know. I've never asked enough. I don't know if it's a trans boy or a trans girl. I don't know what it is, but he lets him cheat. And he's like, yeah, show it to him. My point in that is not that my son is complicit in some sort of, high school cheating scandal. My point is this. Although my 14-year-old son will tell you that there are 2 biological genders, male and female, he doesn't have any issue with sharing his life with people who are choosing that path. So you can do both. We can just acknowledge that, yes, medicine right now in biology, there's penises and vaginas. And you don't have to be hateful. Older people are hateful of it because, everything's changing. But younger people can still be reasonable and not be assholes and be like, my point is this, my kid doesn't have any problem with trans people. I'll tell you another example of that. We were at a grocery store and the person, when you do self-checkout, and it always screws up and it's like, please wait for an attendant. And then the attendant has to come. So the attendant was obviously gender fluid, and which is fine. I mean, this is a long time ago. I've gone to the store a million times. I mean, me and this person are totally fine. Didn't have a problem, but gender fluid. I'm walking out with my son, and I said to my kid, my 14-year-old kid, as we're walking out of the grocery store, like a dad. Suddenly, I became a dad from the 70s. I went, I go, what was that? Was that a boy or a girl? And you know what my dad said? Or my kid said? My kid looked at me and said, doesn't matter, Dad. And on one level, I was like, I was just having fun. But then I realized, no, that's the proper answer for a young person moving forward through this world. He didn't give a shit. You don't want to wear makeup or anything like that. My kid is I guess if you look at this, like, he was assigned male at birth because of the penis and testicles, I think. I don't know. It wasn't his choice. But my son was assigned male at birth. And it seemed to have worked out well for him. Like he's okay with it. But we do acknowledge that there are people who maybe that's not who they feel they are. And that's a very real thing. And just because you can't understand it, because you haven't gone through it, doesn't mean it's not real. So J.K. Rowling's just out there being an asshole, but she is right about what she says regarding this law in Scotland. It is the Hate Crime Act that now would make it illegal for simply saying on social media or publicly or anywhere else that there are two genders. That has been deemed by this political party in Scotland to be hate speech. She's right. I think she's right. I think she's also a troublemaking bitch who, is doing this for whatever reason. I don't know. I guess she likes clicks as well. Don't we all? All right, now let's move on to something a little bit more serious. A couple of stories here that are serious. This is a sad one. I don't know if I want to do this story. Shannon Doherty's going through some stuff. Shannon Doherty has breast cancer, and she's on her podcast. She's got a podcast out. I don't know what it's called. I don't want to listen to it because she's my Brenda Walsh, right? I mean, I always dug Shannon Doherty. I mean, I always thought she was like, she had a bad rep. Right? Like when she was a young actress in Hollywood, she had a bad rep. But I always liked her. I liked her. Like I could date that. Like Brenda Walsh was like, she was, when we saw her on 90210, I'm like, oh, boys are going to like her. She was new kid in school. Her and Brandon, her twin brother. I don't know. If you people aren't familiar with the background and the plot of 90210, I can't help you. But she had a bad reputation, but I always liked her. She's 52 years old. She's speaking out candidly now about her battle with breast cancer. Her podcast is called Let's Be Clear. I listened to a little bit of it. It's beautiful. It's heavy. It's real. It's life. I don't know if we need to go through that, but she has begun the process of giving away her stuff, which, you know what? Okay. Excuse me. Moving on. Let's keep a good thought for Shannon Doherty. That's here we go. Angie Harmon, she of Law and Order. She also, when she married to like Jason Sehorn for a while, I know that I had brunch seated right next to them. I was at a very busy brunch restaurant. Me and a lady friend that I was dating back, 15 years ago or so. We're breadwinners. We were at Breadwinners right here in Dallas. We were at brunch, and it's very crowded because that's like the super cool place for brunch, I guess, in Dallas, or at least it was 15 years ago. So we get this table, and because they've got like way more people in there than needs to be in there, all the tables are super close, like super close. Like there was no room for a waitress to go between my table and the table that I looked over and saw Law and Order star Angie Harmon and New York Giant Jason Sehorn. They're sitting there. Angie Harmon also lived down the block from me right now. Right now where I am, there's these very beautiful luxury condos, as is the Highland Parkway. She lived there for a time. But apparently she also lives in North Carolina because that's where this story comes from us. think she's a Highland Park girl. Somewhere around Texas, somewhere around Dallas. Anyway, now I got to see. Now I got to look at her. Oh, Jesus. Because I know Jason Sehorn wasn't here. Oh, hold on. I got disconnected from the... Look at us, 208. That's right. The stream of consciousness is rocking and rolling. We're not even half done. No, I'm kidding. We're half done. We're more than half done. Come on, connect me to the internet, you bitch. Well, that's going to take a while. All right. I'm going to have to reboot this whole damn thing. Where's Angie Harmon from? Just for my own edification. Highland Park, Texas. There she is. Yeah, she was born. Angie Harmon, born August 10th, 1972. She's 51 years old. She's born in Highland Park, Texas. Let's see who her early life. Let's see what her dad did. Let's see what oil company her dad owned. Harmon was born in the Dallas neighborhood of Highland Park, the daughter of Daphne DeMar and Lawrence Paul Larry Harmon. A hospital network executive in Dallas, Texas. All right, so he ran hospitals, and that's where they got their money from. Let's see. Her father was German, Irish, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so she is from here. That's why she had a condo here at some point. All right, this sucks. Hold on, I got to reboot this computer. That's okay. It's not going to delay the show, other than just like right now, me trying to do this. All right, moving on. Why is Angie Harmon in the news today? Because a delivery driver at her house in North Carolina killed her dog. Yeah, like an Instacart delivery guy. She was getting groceries delivered. And so apparently, here's what she claims. She claims that the Instacart driver dropped off the food and then went back to his car. And when her dog, was walking around in the driveway, he pulled out a gun and shot it dead for absolutely no reason. Now, he says the dog charged at him. And he was afraid. She's saying no. And by the way, she's got a Ring camera, but the Ring camera was disconnected and charging at the time of this incident. Now, here, let me show you what we're looking at here, because, doesn't it really depend on the dog? Like, don't you got to like picture the dog? Like, what does Angie Harmon have? Like a giant Mastiff that came running down the driveway and chased after this Instagram or Instacart driver, causing him to draw his weapon and shoot the animal dead. That's what you're picturing, right? Yeah, no, that ain't really the thing. Here, where do you see this dog? This dog is like, here, we'll show you Angie Harmon's. I don't mean to laugh. There's nothing funny about this. But the point is, obviously, this guy, I'm siding with Angie Harmon. And you know how hard that is, because I think all actresses are crazy. All actresses are crazy and they make shit up. But here's the dog. That's the dog that's being accused of, attacking the Instacart driver. Boom. Here we go. This is the doggy. That's the doggy being accused of coming at like a wild animal, the Instacart driver, causing him to panic to the extent that he pulls a gun and he kills it dead. This Instacart driver is a son of a bitch. Angie Harmon says that he, upon delivering the groceries to the house, he saw that the Ring doorbell was disconnected and charging. I don't know anything about that. I didn't know you got to charge them. I don't know what that is. And he even made mention of it. So Angie's like, and he even said it was charging. It's like he knew none of this was going to be recorded. So he just killed my dog. Look at that guy. Look at that little guy. That little guy does not deserve to die that way. Let's see if there's there's Angie. Look at her. She's 51. She's still looking gorgeous. Still, still gorgeous. What's this picture? Oh my God. Rest in peace. Ollie. His name is Ollie. Oh my God. Moment of silence for Ollie. Moment of silence for Ollie. We're going to call him Ollie Sehorn Harmon. I don't know. I don't know who his dad is. All right, there you go. Rest in peace, little buddy. So it's like the Instagram guy. So he's been like suspended. Like he's not that's a real job. He's an Insta shopper. That's not a real job. It's not like they had a big meeting. He showed up to work. He punched his clock, and the foreman was like, "You got to go see the GM," and he had to go sit somewhere. No, that's not how that works. Just, I guess the app doesn't work for him anymore, I guess. I don't know how that is. But what a son of a bitch move. That dog did not attack that. Look, I have a dog. If some Instacart driver shoots CeeLo dead, I'm going to be like, yeah, that one's on me. I should not be creating an environment where CeeLo, the dog who wants to kill all people she doesn't know, I shouldn't be creating an environment where the dog could have gotten that close to the Instagram. That I would have been like, yeah, but that dog, little Ollie, that dog was cute. That dog was adorable. All right, moving on. Let's see here. That's the Angie Harmon story. Oh, for crying out loud. For some reason, I can't. I just rebooted everything. Connect automatically. Let's do that. All right, let's see what happens. There we go. All right. Sometimes this computer that I use just as my backup that I, read off of, it has my script. Sometimes for some reason it disconnects from the internet and then I got to reboot the whole damn thing to get it to work. And we've done that now. It also sometimes just goes into airplane mode because it wants to, because I think this computer dreams of traveling and seeing the world. And it just from time to time will go into airplane mode. Like I'm just pretending I'm on a plane and I'm going somewhere. Yeah, I'm weird. That's how my brain works. That's how my sober brain works. Hold on. I'm just pulling my Cliff Notes back up. All right. So we covered Angie Harmon. Angie Harmon. Healthiest cities list. Let's go through this one, right? Did we already do this? No, we didn't do this. Well, it seems like I should have done this further down or maybe earlier up. All right. They got their list of the healthiest cities in America. These are big cities where people are the most healthiest. Guess what number one is? Number one is San Francisco, California. That's right. Those people suck. What with them being all healthy? They're the healthiest by far. Their total score is 5 full points higher than number 2 healthiest in America, and that's Honolulu. Honolulu. Oh, really? So you're telling me living in paradise? That's conducive to having a super healthy life. Number 3, also on the West Coast, we got Seattle, Washington. Number 4, San Diego. Number 5, what? The number 5 healthiest city in America is Washington, D.C. How can that be? Really? All right, so we don't need to go through the rest. But the top 10, number 10 is Irvine, California, and you got some Denvers in there. A lot of places. Denver, here's what you got. You got Denver. Yeah, wow, look at this. So 6, 7, 8, and 9, okay? 6 is Portland, Oregon. 7 is Denver, Colorado. 8 is Salt Lake City, Utah. 9 is Scottsdale, Arizona. All of those places sound like spots where people do a lot of hiking, right? That sounds like hiking country. So maybe hiking country just makes you healthier, and that's what they say. I got to start walking again. I feel so guilty. Number 13 is Austin, Texas. Number 13. Well, that's just San Francisco of the hill country, right? Hill country, San Francisco. That's all that is. Austin, a lot of healthy people. A lot of healthy hippies in Austin riding bikes everywhere. So I can see that. Number 13. In fact, I'm surprised that Austin isn't in the top 10, but it's not. All right, let's look for other big ones that stand out, right? New York. The city of New York comes in at 18. The city of Madison, Wisconsin comes in at 17. I need to mention that because you know me. I think Madison, Wisconsin. I think there are 2 places on this planet where I could live the rest of my life very happy. And that is Austin, Texas, and Madison, Wisconsin. And the reason that I lean towards Madison, Wisconsin when it comes to which would you rather, Madtown or Austin? And I'm like, Madison. And it's simply because 4 Seasons. The 4 Seasons wins out. Like, I love Austin. But at some point, I'm going to want snow. Like, at some point, I'm going to want to maybe go figure skating. Figure skating? Like, I'm not going to want to go figure skating. Snowmobiling. There you go. That's more masculine. All right. Number 18 is New York City. Let's see. Let's look for my hometown of Chicago, and let's look for, Dallas. Right? Oh, there we go. Chicago. Oh, and how appropriate. They did this on purpose. Chicago comes in at number 34. They come in the Peyton position, number 34 for Chicago. 34 healthiest city. in America. Chicago, if you don't get shot. Hey, look what I did there. I made a joke at my city's expense, a joke that I don't even believe in, but what the hell? Double down. Chicago's number 34, healthiest city in America. Where is Dallas? Why have I not seen Dallas yet? Where's Milwaukee? Like, Milwaukee has got to be up there with like the least. Plano, Texas, coming in at 54. Plano, Texas. And look at that. Chicago got number 34 for Walter Payton. Plano gets number 54. Number 54 is, of course, the number of Brian Urlacher. Why does that mean anything for Plano, Texas? Because my son wears number 54 in honor of Brian Urlacher, and he plays in Plano, Texas. It's apropos of nothing. Just looking for connections. That's what a stream of consciousness does. Dallas, not looking good. We're already in the 70s, and I don't see Dallas. We are some unhealthy sons of bitches. This is not a good sign, Dallas, Texas. Milwaukee, Wisconsin comes in at number 81 on the list, and Dallas hasn't checked in yet. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which I assumed would be like the least healthy big city in America. Our entire lifestyle is based around two things, cheese and beer. There are some big strapping people up there in Milwaukee. And Milwaukee comes in at 81. What's going on with Dallas? Let's keep going. Oh, my God. 94, ladies and gentlemen. Dallas, Texas is the 94th healthiest city in America. 94. All right. Well, you made the top 100. That's good, I suppose. San Antonio is 104. Where's Houston? Now we got to look for Houston, right? Because Dallas always likes to be better than Houston. Where's Fort Worth is 109. Oh, Jesus. Where's Houston? Where is Houston? Arlington, Texas is 143, the 143rd least healthy city in America. At this point, when you're in the 144s, it's no longer healthiest. These are the least healthiest cities. Arlington, Texas, 143, least healthy. Grand Prairie, Texas, 144, least healthy. They're right next to each other. Garland, Texas, 153, least healthy city in America. Oh my God, the Metroplex is just awful. Oh, Memphis. Memphis is, also another one that I would think would be very unhealthy. They come in at 170. Corpus Christi is 175. Still don't see. Brownsville is 182. I didn't see Houston. It worries me. It worries me that I didn't see Houston. You know why it worries me? It worries me because that means it very well could be healthier than we here in Dallas are. Oh. Yeah, Fort Worth. All right, so here we go. So Dallas is 90. Oh, God, does this suck. That's why I didn't see it. Dallas is the 94th least healthy city in America. Houston wins again. Houston is 92. You got Houston, which is really unhealthy at 92. Then you got Chula Vista, California, which is a little bit less healthy than Houston. Then you got Dallas, Texas, 94. All right. Hey, do with that information what you please. I don't know what to do for you. Okay, so now, here, let's do this. We got a couple of... Hold up. Hey. There we go. Okay. Let's talk about someone who passed away today. This is very surprising. This is somebody who, in my relationship with my pal, my buddy, my brother E, in my relationship with him, this person was a central player in an ongoing barb and joke that I use against him. He's a fan of the Buffalo Bills. Vontae Davis has died. Vontae Davis, Pro Bowl player, who's really good as a linebacker. He was great with the Colts. That's where I mostly remember him. Vontae Davis, 35 years old. He retired a couple of years ago. And when I say that this is an ongoing thing between me and E, Vontae Davis was traded or something, or I know he's a Buffalo Bill, like the year before Josh Allen, when Buffalo was like terrible. And he was playing for the Buffalo Bills, and he famously retired from football at halftime. like he was the game started, and he was like the starting linebacker for the Buffalo Bills. But then at halftime, he didn't come out, and he wasn't on the sideline. He just went home, and he told the team, yeah, I guess I only had 2 quarters in me. I'm retiring. This team is terrible. And I always use that against my friend E because he's a big Buffalo Bills fan. And I always say, your team had a guy retire at halftime. Vontae Davis was more than that, though. Vontae Davis is a legend at the University of Illinois. Anybody who's an Illini football fan remembers the days of Vontae Davis. We also rooted for him as he was drafted by somebody. I forgot who drafted him, but he ended up getting traded from the team that drafted him. And that's how he ended up in Indianapolis, I think. Anyway, really good with some really strong Indianapolis defenses, and then just retired. 10 years in the league. I don't know. He's Pro Bowler a couple of times at least, I think. I don't know if he's ever all pro, but, he's a good player. He was a fine player for the time he played. Vontae Davis, a former NFL defensive back who was a two-time Pro Bowler, there you go, has died. This according to Illinois men's basketball coach Chester Frazier, who tweeted and announced the news on social media. Davis was 35. Davis played 10 seasons in the NFL and retired in the middle of a game while he was a member of the Buffalo Bills. He also played for the Dolphins and the Colts. He was a standout at the University of Illinois before going in the first round of the NFL. First round? Was he a first rounder? I don't know. Maybe. I think that might be a misprint. I don't think of him as a first rounder, but I remember... All right, maybe he was. Anyway, no cause of death has been given. Miami selected Davis in the first round of the 2009 draft. He was traded to the Colts before the start of 2012 season. He had a number of great seasons with the Indianapolis Colts. He joined the Bills after the 2017 season and only appeared in 1 game for them. All right, so maybe he didn't start and then retire, but whatever. He was on the team in uniform, and he took his uniform off at halftime and said, I am out of here. It's too bad. Too bad when he's a young man. He's 35 years old. That's a kid. If he wasn't an NFL player, you'd look at him like he was a kid. That's a kid. At least I would, and if you're my age. All right, so keep a good thought there for Vontae Davis. We don't know how he died. Don't even have many details on it, but I've just told you what we know at this moment. Adam says, is his brother Vernon Davis? I don't know. Is he? I don't know. It's a good question. He says, I think the Colts drafted him. No, it's I guess the Dolphins. I remember him being traded on draft night or like shortly after that, because I had friends who were, I grew up big on Illini football, but I had friends who were involved in the football program at that time. One of them was a coach at the time. And I remember he was he was a stud. And I remember that. I remember him being traded. I remember thinking, okay, so he got traded fairly quickly after being drafted. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know. Anyway, his big years were with the Colts, though. That's where he played really well. All right, so now we will end the show, and I've placed this all the way in the back of the show because I want to be able to stretch out a little bit. The loss of Vontae Davis is a very sad thing, but it doesn't truly affect me. It doesn't hit me in my soul. It doesn't make me. The death of Vontae Davis didn't have me on YouTube for an hour this morning watching Vontae Davis's greatest moments. But the passing of this guy did. This is a big one for me. This is I hate when these happen, and it's going to start happening probably more and more over the next few years. I'm going to have to get used to it. I got used to a couple, right? And the big one. I got used to that. I had to say goodbye to one of the big ones. And that was a long time ago. That was John Candy. When John Candy died, I was like, but that was weird because John Candy died young, right? John Candy dying when John Candy died was no indication of my own mortality, right? But we lost Joe Flaherty yesterday. Joe Flaherty died.
One of the greats. One of my all-time favorites. Just forget it. He's one of them dudes when he would come in. He did small parts. He did small comedic parts. Did a lot of parts were given to him because people just respected him so much. And like directors, like, I want to work with Joe Flaherty for a day. So he'll just come in and he'll do his thing and he'll go home. Dude taught comedy at a college in Canada for like the last 15 years or something. How badass would that be? I mean, you take a comedic writing course and you get Professor Joe Flaherty. Now, if you don't know who Joe Flaherty is, shame on you. He's one of the great comic actors, writers, directors of all time. He's also a guy who got his bag. He's also a guy who never needed the whole thing. He enjoyed what he did for a living, and he carved out an incredibly comfortable life. He's icon status in comedy circles. And, he decided at like 60 years old, instead of grinding out on, trying to get himself landing roles on TNT miniseries or whatever. No, he's just like, I'm going to go up to Canada. They really like me in Canada. I'm not a Canadian, but they like me up there. And I'm going to teach. I'm going to hang out with young people and we're going to have laughs and all that. Joe Flaherty was an amazing man. Now, why did I mention John Candy? Because Joe Flaherty and John Candy were members of Second City TV, SCTV. Which I believe is the most it's the greatest television show in the history of me being a television show guy. There is not a single show that had more of a direct impact on me. The way I viewed the world, the way I viewed comedy, what I thought was funny. Man, it was crazy. I stumbled across, all the adults were all about Saturday Night Live and Saturday Night Live, it's so edgy. And it was only some of us who stayed up past midnight and watched the show that followed Saturday Night Live. And that show was SCTV. It jumped around a lot, but my God, those of us who got on that show, we never let go. I run into people all the time. I make references. I make Second City, SCTV. I shouldn't call it Second City because there's a difference there. But I make these references all the time from SCTV. And, most people don't know what it is, but when somebody gets it, when somebody's like, SCTV, the people I enjoy being around most, not exclusively. This, I guess, is not because there are people I enjoy being around. Like my son. My son doesn't enjoy he's not really an SCTV guy. But, I enjoy being around my friends who are SCTV freaks, like Schwartzy, like Dr. Schwartz. He's Canadian, and he loves SCTV. He's also one of the funniest people I know. So, of course, he gets it. Joe Flaherty, who might you know him as? Well, let me pull this up. We'll watch a couple of videos. Freaks and Geeks. Boy, I really wish that Freaks and Geeks had become the show that it was supposed to become, because that would have really solidified Joe Flaherty. If Freaks and Geeks had ran for 10 years and he was the dad on that show for 10 years, that would have been really good for him. And I think that he'd have been more high profile upon his death. It's not really all that high profile. Hold on. What can I show you here? All right. So a lot of you who don't know who Joe Flaherty is, this is an example of how he used to just do small roles in movies. Not because the small roles were all that he could get, but it's because the great comedy writers and directors all wanted to work with him. They all wanted him, even if it's just for a day, just to have him on set, just to do something, because, they want to hang out with this guy because of what he had done throughout the 70s and 80s. Here's an example of that happening. This is from, we'll get rid of this. We'll make it smaller. There we go. This is, of course, from Happy Gilmore, right? This is Joe Flaherty as the heckler. It's just such a small role. And it's one of those Easter egg roles. Because I remember when we watched this movie, you're watching this movie and all of a sudden the heckler, who seems like a very minor part, is Joe Flaherty. You're like, holy crap. Joe, it's perfect. Joe Flaherty is perfect for this.
I won this thing last year, and I'd like to win it again this year.
All right, I'll do my best.
Hey, Gilmore, you suck, you jackass.
Why don't you shut the hell up? I'd love to punch that guy in the face right now, but I can't, because I'd get in trouble. I bet you got a lot of that on Let's Make a Deal.
It's The Price is Right, Happy.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It happens. Let's play some golf.
Okay.
jackass. Whoa! The club went further than the ball.
What the hell was that all about? You know, Nick Faldo
All
and I
right.
won this
So
thing.
there's Adam
I'd like to
says
win it again.
probably best known for that. I don't agree with that, Adam. I think that if you're what the hell? Why is this still playing? Oh, there it goes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess you know what? Yeah, if you're a certain age, right, then and you don't remember comedy of the late 70s and the early 80s and all that and throughout the 80s, then yeah, he pops up in the late 90s in a small role as sort of this elder statesman of comedy doing a cameo. Maybe that would be, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's generational, right? What else? Let me see, what else can I show you of him? Count Floyd. All right, so here he is. This is his most iconic character, I suppose. This is from Second City, SCTV, if you will. This is that's Count Floyd. Who scary? He played the host of a late night horror TV show. He was Count Floyd, who was also a news anchor. So he would go from doing the news he would tape Monster Chiller Horror Theater, which was the show. My God, if you don't know what SCTV was, this makes no sense. It was a pretend television network, and there were like 5 people that hosted all the shows on the network. So Floyd Robbins was his name, the news anchor. Floyd Robbins would host Monster Chiller Horror Theater as Count Floyd. And then he'd have to run to the news set and do the news with Earl Cannonbear. But he would often still have the Count Floyd vampire widow's peak on his hair. Anyway, very funny. Very funny. I do want to show you one other. There he is. Okay. So yeah, this is good. So let's do this. This is from Freaks and Geeks. This is an example. This is an example of who he was on Freaks and Geeks. He was the dad. He was an awesome dad. He was very funny. All right, let's go. Yep.
You know, I had a friend that used to smoke. You know what he's doing now? He's dead. Now, you think smoking makes you look cool? Let's go dig him up now and see how cool he looks. Are you wacky? Why don't you tell him he's a grease bucket and you deserve better? We're your parents. We're not hammered.
A little tipsy, mate. Well, your father, he's hammered.
That's what Kim Kelly is. A bad banana.
Like circus freaks?
I don't think there's bearded ladies running around throwing eggs at kids. He means hippies. There was a girl in our school. She had marital sex. You know what she did on graduation day? Died. An overdose. Heroin.
Dad, are any of your friends alive?
Smart ones. Be quiet. Trying to watch Charlie's Angels. Ooh, real scared. Can it?
This is the best thing.
All right, I'm going to stop it there because if you're unfamiliar with Freaks and Geeks, and that means nothing. But there were some Easter eggs there. There were Easter eggs for people who know who he was. Like when he was dressed as the vampire for Halloween, and the kids opened the door, and he's like, "Oh, that was a Count Floyd thing." They also did a Count Floyd thing right there when he went, "Ooh, real scary." That was Count Floyd's catchphrase. So to see him do that as Mr. Weir was enjoyable. One other thing that I do want to show, because I saw this earlier, and it's, apropos of almost nothing other than it showcases him. Hold on. Let me... yeah, there we go. We'll show this one. This one's pretty great. We'll watch this, and then let's see. Maybe we won't watch the whole thing because it does appear to be kind of long. All right, so let me give you the story here. So Joe Flaherty is from Pittsburgh, right? And he moved to Chicago in the late 60s, early 70s in order to train for a career in comedy at the Second City Theater. The Second City Theater at that point had just an all-star cast. When Joe Flaherty joined the Second City, I mean, that's the bomb cast of all time. That cast included everybody from, Joe Flaherty, Harold Ramis, John Belushi, a young Bill Murray, a Brian Doyle Murray,
Who else? Trying to think of who else. I don't know. It was like one of the great casts in the history of the Second City in Chicago. Everybody would go on to great acclaim. What they decided, though, was that they wanted to branch out. And there was an investor in Toronto who wanted to open a Second City theater in Toronto. So in Chicago, the people who ran the Chicago the real Second City, the people who ran that, they sent Joe Flaherty and Harold Ramis up to Toronto to oversee the casting of the new Toronto Second City. And that's how Joe Flaherty never left. He just stayed there. They ended up creating a TV show because the owner of the theater in Toronto was like, I want to do TV. So they created that up there, and that's how Second City or SCTV became a thing. But here, this is great. This is, I love this because it's two of my favorites from that show who are no longer with us. This is an old episode of David Letterman, and it features John Candy and Joe Flaherty, who at this time, you have to understand, were not famous. They're so not famous that they put a chyron underneath them to tell the audience who these people are. And I like to watch this because it's like, man, these dudes, they didn't know what was hitting them right here. As Second City, SCTV, was on after Saturday Night Live, and it had built up a cult following. They had no idea they were famous in America, and all of a sudden they're being thrown on David Letterman, a guy who they're well familiar with, but would never think that they were famous enough to be on. So here, this is a really great interview. David Letterman, early 80s. This is probably 82, 83.
City TV is a comedy show which emanates in Toronto, Canada, and for a while it was being done out of Edmonton, Canada, I believe. It's a terrific show, and it's on every Friday evening at 12:30 here at NBC, and perhaps one of the fastest, most, well, I'm lost here. Let me just start over. Quickly becoming one of the most popular comedy programs on the air without a siren. The magic of SCTV is attributed to the fine writing and performing. That's certainly the truth. Two of those folks are with us tonight, John Candy and Joe Flaherty. Nice of you gentlemen to be here. I'm desperately sorry that I botched your introduction. What I was trying to say is this is a show that I have been a big fan of for a long time before it moved to NBC, and the little remark there in the opening about it being a perfect match of great writing and great performing, I think is the hallmark of that show, and you folks should be congratulated on that. Tell us about yourselves, as they say. Joe, you are from originally not Canada, somewhere else, or
yeah,
from
Pittsburgh.
Canada?
I'm from Pittsburgh, PA, and
that's it. Come on, Pittsburgh.
How did you get involved with the Canadians from Pittsburgh?
Well, I went up to Canada to work with the theater company, the SCTV. No, it was Second City, City Cabaret. And we wanted to open a theater up there, so we went up and cast some people, very good people up there. I was surprised to see the talent just sort of floating around in Toronto. Matter of fact, Paul Schaefer, your musical director, was up there at the time doing Godspell.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
Yes.
See you again.
Shut up. and we cast John and Eugene Levy and let's see who else was up there at the time. Gilda Radner and Danny Aykroyd. They were in the original stage show. Yeah. So from there it was.
What is SCTV or Second City? What is that for people who may not really know what the organization is out of Chicago?
Want me to say it?
Sure, John. Why don't you try one of these?
Oh, okay. That's a tough one, though. Second City started in Chicago in 1959. It was originally came out of the University of Chicago when it was the West Compass Players. It was the University of Chicago didn't have a theater department, and they created their own. They being Elaine May, Mike Nichols, Severin Darden, Del Close, Bernie Solins, Sheldon Patinkin. There was a lot of people who I think Ed Asner was part of that. Shelley Berman,
Harry Truman.
Harry Truman was
Alan
part of that.
Arkin.
He had great stuff.
A lot. He was
terrific,
funny. The
yeah.
blackouts he came up with. Little known fact about him: the group scenes that he did, were very risque at the time.
Is that right?
He was very, very, very funny man.
What was the what's the
Learned a lot from him.
What was the fact that some said that you were the next Harry Truman for a while?
Yes, they did for a long time, and there's been a curse on my back.
Yeah.
I've been trying to change that. But damn it, you can't sometimes.
No, I know.
People won't get off, you know?
What is it? What does a Second City refer to? What does that mean? Second City.
It was an article, I think, in the New York Times, wasn't it? There were
New Yorker magazine.
New Yorker magazine saying Chicago was second to New York in everything, in every way. Which I don't know if everyone believes that or not.
Chicago's a fine town.
It is.
Toronto
a fine
is
town.
a fine town also, where
Yes.
you guys are now doing the show.
Pittsburgh's a fine town.
Pittsburgh is all right too.
Didn't get a huge response.
What about Monterey?
Beautiful place.
Now, when you were doing
Queensville, another place where I'm from.
Queensville, and this is in Ontario,
Yeah.
All
outside
right.
of Toronto.
Yeah.
That's just a little taste of Joe Flaherty. And we got to enjoy a little bit of John Candy there as well. Joe Flaherty has died at the age of 82. What did he die of? He died of, being 82 years old. But what a funny guy. What a funny, what he was? There were superstars surrounding him, whether we're talking about John Candy, Catherine O'Hara, Rick Moranis, Martin Short. Did I say Harold Ramis? Andrea Martin. I mean, there were just superstars around Joe Flaherty. And Joe Flaherty is what it was commonly be called, at least as it pertains to Saturday Night Live, the glue. Joe Flaherty was what Phil Hartman was. Phil Hartman, when people talk about Saturday Night Live, they talk about how Phil Hartman and Danny Aykroyd, and I don't know who else we could put in this category, but Phil Hartman, Dan Aykroyd, those are guys who are glue. You can put them in any scene. They can do absolutely anything, and they don't have to be the star. They don't have to be the breakout guy in the scene, but oftentimes because they are so good at what they do, they steal from other people. Aykroyd was famous for that. And then, of course, now Lorne Michaels will tell you that there was never a better glue on Saturday Night Live than Phil Hartman. That's what Joe Flaherty was on Second City. Joe Flaherty wasn't just, an actor and a performer and a great guy who came up with Bill Hader. Yeah, that's a good one. Bill Hader is glue too, but Bill Hader also has a little bit more of the obvious star quality than I think the others did. Like Dan Aykroyd, if I'm being honest, I don't know that Dan Aykroyd is the legendary comedic force that he is or that he's considered, if not for John Belushi. Like John Belushi was the one that you couldn't take your eyes off. Dan was the normal or the slightly normal, at least more normal. Bill Hader's good though. That's good. But I think Bill Hader is a breakout star. But yeah, absolutely glue. Can do anything. You put him in any scene. Actually, you know who I would say is better? A better example, Adam, and that's not to say that Bill Hader's a bad example. Jason Sudeikis. Jason Sudeikis, the ability for him that he had playing background characters on Saturday Night Live that were not drivers of whatever the sketch was, but were just there to fill space and to be the glue that brings it all together. I think Sudeikis was really like that. I didn't see Jason Sudeikis as a breakout star. Like Jason said, I'm glad he is. I love him now, but I didn't see him. I just saw him as a guy who, that guy's funny. Good example of that is is it What's Up With That? Remember the What's Up With That bit where Kenan Thompson plays a talk show host who never gets to the point and never interviews his people, but they just break out into song for no reason. Well, Jason Sudeikis always played this guy in the background who was just dancing, and he's wearing a tracksuit, and it was just funny. It was like, that's glue. That's not important to the scene. He's not driving the scene. They just needed something else going in the scene, and so they used him, and he's great. That's how Flaherty was to me. Flaherty was glue. Love that guy. Absolutely love him. Got a chance to meet him and Eugene Levy around 1997. They were promoting a Second City. They were promoting a Second City. Oh, I know what it was. It was it was in Chicago. It was like the 50th anniversary of the Second City or something like that. And so they had come, and we were doing mornings at a station called Q101 in Chicago. And they were like, well, we're going to send some, you want to promote this? And we're like, yeah, are you kidding me? Yeah, we want to promote this. So they were the two that they sent. They sent, Second City sent over Eugene Levy and Joe Flaherty. And I was beside myself. I mean, I was like 27 years old. Never did this before. Met him by the elevators, right? I didn't do this with any other guests. I was the executive producer of the show there. Big time guests show up, you wait inside the lobby and you see them exit the elevator and then welcome folks, come back with me. That whole thing. No, I waited for these guys at the elevator. I'm like, as soon as they come in here, as soon as they walk into this building, I'm going to grab them and I'm going to spend as much private one-on-one time with Eugene Levy and Joe Flaherty as I possibly can. Rode up in the elevator with him. So, guys, it's nice to be back in Chicago. Well, and then Joe had a place. Apparently, Joe Flaherty had a place that he kept in Chicago there in Uptown for years and years, just because he would like to come back and work out at the Second City. Nice guys, it's, I've had an opportunity to meet a lot of people, a lot of celebrities. Haven't met, everyone that I've admired or anything, but, I meet a lot of generic celebrities and I come away with that going, oh, that guy's a dick, or that person was surprisingly cool. That was okay. That's a good person. And the saying in this business is that you never want to meet Superman without his cape. And what that refers to is celebrities when they're not being celebrities. When they're not like, you see, like, let's say Kevin Costner, right? You want Kevin Costner as that character in Bull Durham, but you run into Kevin Costner in line at a 7-Eleven. He doesn't have his cape. He's not the movie star Kevin. Now he's an asshole. And now you're like, shit, it's your heroes. You never want to see your heroes without their cape. And there was a real opportunity for me to be completely devastated by the realization that either Joe Flaherty or Eugene Levy were assholes. And they weren't. They were cool. They were cool. And they even allowed me to get a little bit weird, about Second City and how much I love that show, SCTV. And they're like, everybody, because I kept apologizing. I'm sorry. I go, I don't think I knew how to be funny or knew what comedy was until I started watching that show. And, oh God, I'm so sorry. I feel like so. And they were like, no, bring it. We love it. We love hearing it. You guys, trust me, you're not the first person to have told this to. And they were just fairly cool about it. Like, a lot of people would be like, well, that was years ago. I've done a lot of things since then. So Joe Flaherty is dead. And that's too bad. Love that guy. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's show. Did you like it? I gave you almost 3 hours. 2 hours and 40 minutes if you consider that we didn't start until 12:10. Appreciate you hanging out with me. Did not hear the tip register ringing much. So if you want to help out the show, now would be the time. I will have an updated number tomorrow. The number as of today, the start of today's show, was $275. We need to raise $275 by Friday to continue the show going. And that's where we are. So if you want to help out the show, we appreciate it. If you like this kind of non-divisive, non-political, current events driven, hot talk, commentary, ranting, raving, all of that good stuff, please drop a little something and ensure that we can continue doing it. All right, because I need a job. That's what's going to happen. This has not been the job that I thought it would be. I thought I could eke out 2.5 years we've been doing this, and it's been obviously the most, not obviously, I guess I shouldn't say obviously, but it's been the most fun I've ever had doing this kind of thing. Of course, it's total autonomy, and I can be late if I want, so that might explain it. But honestly, it's been you guys in the chat room every day, you guys hanging out with me every fucking day. Every day you sit here and watch me, this middle-aged narcissist, just prattle on for 2 hours plus about all the things that are happening in the world. And you didn't go away. The attrition rate on this show is like non-existent. You are all the same people who have been, some of you are new, some of you have come, but you know what's strange? And you can attest to this because you're in the chat room. We've never had anyone like establish themselves in the chat room as one of the regulars, as one of the normals, and then suddenly just go away. Unless you count the Jeffs, right? We've got a Ballard and the Earnshaw, both Jeffs I love, but life got in the way, and this is not convenient for them to be hanging out in the chat room every day anymore. But they're not forgotten. They are loved and appreciated. And we lost a Leslie, which is absolutely heartbreaking. We lost 2 Leslies. One, we just need to let her be okay. We lost another Leslie. We lost a Leslie who, just somebody that I really man, I think we lost her because of James. I think that James maybe took a couple of positions that she didn't appreciate, and I don't know. But that's really been it, man. We don't have attrition on this show. You guys are awesome. You're here every freaking day. So we'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow, maybe at noon. I don't know. Things are in such flux, you know. I mean, we got people coming on the property here as we do this show. The house is for sale, so we may be delayed, you know, from time to time this week. But I promise you that I will give you 2 hours of the rant every single day this week, because it is Pledge Week. I ask you once again if you can drop a little something. Today would be the day. We're trying to get to a number by the end of Friday. That's it. I have a wrestling thing that I have to do tonight. Otherwise, I want to do another stream. I might do a stream tonight, because I want to start doing nighttime streams, because it's for Pledge Week or whatever. And then I just got so much stuff that I want to do, but it just seems like tossing bad money after good at this point. I got a lot of stuff I got to figure out. Love you guys. We'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow at noon, maybe earlier, maybe tonight. Maybe we'll do something tonight. Like, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. If I go live, if a stream comes, you're going to want to know about it. Oh my God, I've been speaking nonstop since 12:10 today, and I got to be done.